Alright, there we go. That one. Alright. So, I just wanted to make, it's gonna be a short one today. It's not gonna be anything crazy. I just got home yesterday, so I'm just gonna chill out and we're gonna watch what the new league is about, check the patch notes and whatnot, and maybe we check a couple other videos, but that's gonna be pretty much it for the day. And yeah, I'm a little tired, but we'll make do. I took the piece, I was moving my PC around and then took it apart and then put it back together, and I don't know how I put the wrong cable in the wrong place, and I couldn't figure out why nothing would work, but I figured it out. Got it all fixed, so now we're good to go. That's why I was a little later on than I wanted to be. But yeah, let's I want to start watching this stream. Let's see if we have.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to GGG Live. Today, we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile Settlers of Kalguur, which launches next week on July 26th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Corsair back attachment. In today's stream, we will take you on a deep dive into the new Settlers of Kalguur Challenge League. We'll cover the league mechanics, its new and revised crafting systems, a new trade market system for currency, some sweeping balance improvements including 2 Ascendancy class changes, endgame improvements, some further additions to the campaign, and some quality of life features. We'll then talk about our console-native port releases and the features that come alongside them. Finally, we'll show you our new supporter packs, ending with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game director, Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes. I'll hand over to Mark now to introduce the new league.
Okay.
We've really innovated with the content in this league, and I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks. So let's just get right into it with the trailer for Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalguur.
Alright. So that's just the game trailer, I'm guessing?
Rayclast is a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here. And yet... Welcome to King's March! It's not much yet, but with your help, we can erect the greatest city Rayclast has ever seen.
Oh!
We'll need resources. And savvy planning.
Oh my god. This seems hot. Oh my god, this is hella awesome.
Soon we'll attract settlers, craftsmen, fortune seekers.
Wait. Bring that back, bring that back.
Craftsmen.
Oh, he combined the 2 weapons into 1 weapon. Oh.
Fortune
That's kind of sick.
And of course, pirates. But if we prevail, our ships will be heavy with gold. We hope to achieve the impossible. We hope to build a home.
Oh, this seems so cool. Jesus Christ. Wait. Respec with gold? Oh. Wait, what the fuck? Back. Just see that one more time. Oh my god. This is kind of crazy. I don't know if I'm gonna have to try that out. Oh, okay, so you're not. Oh, okay. No, wait, are you paying gold? Or are you paying like 5x salt for a divine? I'm a little confused here. Whoa, a new ascendancy class. What? Yeah? Gladiator rework. Oh shit. Hey, Knight, what up, bro? Oh my god, there's a lot going on in this one. Holy shit. Massive melee rebalancing. That sounds kind of cool too. Holy shit. Endgame improvement. I wonder what that means. Wait, hold on. So much stuff is going on right now. Right, it seems like it. There's so much shit going on. It's crazy. What is the currency he's using here? The fuck is that? Oh! Oh! This is... Oh, this is crazy. Wait, it shows the cards that you can get from the... Hold on. Whoa, there's so much shit going on, what the fuck? Alright, okay. We still got a little time before it drops though, so... I'll be...
In Path of Exile Settlers of Kalguur, you will encounter some familiar
I gotta
faces
figure
from
out
the
what I
Expedition
gotta...
League.
What
Danig,
I gotta
Rog,
play.
Tujin, and Gwenin are Kalguuran people who are trying to establish trade between Rayclast and their homeland. They have recruited many curious characters from Rayclast, including some you may recognize, but are also seeking help of a powerful exile, like yourself. You will first encounter Johan, the King's Hand in Lion Eye's Watch. He's there recruiting workers, traders, and exiles. Johan, under the command of the King of Kalguur, has been sent here to build a new city called Kingsmarch, which intends to become the hub of commerce between Wraeclast and Kalguur. Soon, he will bring you to the planned site for Kingsmarch, which you'll notice has humble beginnings as just a tavern in a field. But with your help, it won't stay like this for long. It takes a lot to build a town. The Kalguurans will ask you to seek out resources that can be used to begin construction. On your adventures, you might find minerals such as crimson iron, which are veins of iron that have been overrun with corruption, spawning dangerous foes when you approach. Or perhaps
the city we are building,
which you will have to liberate from the demons worshipping it. Petrified amber attracts mindless, blighted enemies.
That's crazy.
While bismuth has a strong affinity to the elements and causes the area to become unstable.
That's super
If you're lucky,
creative.
you might find vericium,
Holy fuck.
a material as valuable as it is dangerous, and guarded by very powerful foes. Once you defeat these monsters, the deposit will automatically be tagged for mining. But first, we need to get someone to do the hard labor. This is of course a trade expedition and nothing is free. Miners, along with other workers that the Kalguurans have hired, must be paid in cold hard gold, which you'll notice is now dropping throughout Wraeclast. You will have control about who gets hired into your enterprise. Once you have accumulated some gold, head to the town and talk to the recruiter, Raouf. He's been busy tracking down hardy folk across Wraeclast who are looking for work. You'll notice each person has their specialties and a wage cost. It'll be up to you to hire and fire as you please. Over the course of the League, you'll be searching for your perfect employees for each job. Once you have them, you'll have to keep them paid, safe, and alive, which we'll get into later.
Okay.
Here we have a prospect who has a specialty in mining. We'll start with that so we can begin to retrieve some of those resources we were talking about earlier. Let's go find some ore and put our miner to use. Oh, we've found a vein of orichalcum ore. It's guarded by dangerous demons worshipping a strange shrine. The shrine buffs the demons, giving them power, but once you defeat them, you can seize that power for yourself. After that, we can tag the ore, and our mining specialist will get to work.
Okay, that sounds
Soon, we encounter
awesome.
a few more deposits, each with a different dangerous encounter. After you have tagged the mineral veins, your miners will get to work collecting resources in real time. They might take a while, but will continue whether you are logged in or not. The work can be sped up by hiring more or better miners, and by upgrading the mining station back in Kingsmarch to equip them with advanced pickaxes.
Okay.
Alright,
Oh shit.
some time has passed and our miners have been able to get the resources back to town. We've also managed to collect some more gold too. We can now upgrade the town and build new structures. There's plenty of options, we just need to decide where to start. I think we'll start with the tavern, the beating heart of Kingsmarch. It can be upgraded instantly to improve the recruiter's prospects, and you can find various important NPCs relaxing here. Next, we'll upgrade our mining station. You can upgrade this to improve the efficiency of your miners and allocate our newly hired workers to mining. You will eventually need a smelter, where you can send your ore to turn into more valuable bars. Then we have the disenchanter, where you can bring your magic, rare, or unique items to be added to a queue to be disenchanted over time. The items will be broken down into thaumaturgic dust, a new resource used for crafting and shipping.
Oh my god.
We'll get more into that later. And of course, a town needs food. You could invest in farming, where you
This
can
is
select
a
crops to grow and
Steve
harvest.
reference? Oh
But
shit.
don't worry, you won't be manually watering anything. Ah, the wonders of delegation. With all these resources piling up, there will be excess that we can spend. Let's talk about rewards in Settlers of Kalguur.
Okay.
Eventually, you can build a harbour and establish shipping routes between a number of different Kalguuran and Karui ports for trade. You'll be able to pile your acquired resources onto these ships and send them to a port of your choosing, where your traders will haggle for the best deals. Each port will return specific rewards based on what you send them. They accept all types of resources, but will have a preferred type that they'll currently pay more for.
Okay.
And you'll want to get onto
But,
this, because eventually you could be bringing in shipments like this.
Whoa.
This.
Oh my god.
Or even this. Today, we're going to trade with Kalguur. You'll notice that as we send more resources, this risk meter creeps up. Much like the dangers on the shores of Wrecklast, there are dangers out at sea. Monsters, pirates, environmental hazards. You'll want to try keep your shipment safe. You can do this by hiring workers that specialize in shipping. The more of them you add to the ship, the less risk there will be. Like this gentleman, who's famous for fending off even the most dangerous of pirates. Now let's get that shipment going, and we'll continue exploring Wrecklast while we wait for its return. This is
There's so much going on right now. This feels so big that it feels like it's not just for this league, but it's like here to stay. If that makes sense. So after the league is done, it'll like stick around. Because this just seems such like there's so much going on right now. Holy shit. I'm trying to wrap my head around just the first part about this whole idea of the city. That's crazy.
the first Path of Exile League that experiments with true, real-time mechanics. You can send out shipments, go and have lunch, and come back to your rewards. Many mechanics in the League work this way, so you'll always have some ongoing project or outcome to look forward to.
Oh.
When your shipment has returned, or met its demise, you'll get
I barely
notified,
scratched the
and at
surface?
your leisure,
Oh
you can
my
return
god.
to the town to collect your rewards. Our shipment returned safely, so let's go see what we got. Ooh, they've sent us a unique item alongside our rewards, perhaps hoping to secure us as a loyal customer for the future. Aside from shipping, the Kalguurans are big on their technology. They have hired Isla, a familiar face from the Heist League. She is an engineer who the Kalguurans have employed for a very exciting purpose. You're not the only one who understands how profitable running maps can be. Once at endgame, Isla can help you build a series of Kalguuran modified map devices.
Oh.
You can then put a queue of maps into them. If
Wait.
you've hired a few skilled Atlas runners, they will put themselves to work running those maps for you one after another. Look,
Oh
more
my
delegation.
god.
Once again, you'll be notified when the rewards are ready to be collected. You can put lots of maps in the queue, so don't feel obliged to go back there all the time.
Oh
Be
my
careful,
god.
though.
This is
The
brilliant.
difficulty of the map impacts the risk of your workers perishing. Try to pick your best workers, or perhaps just ones you don't like. Consider the difficulty too. Sometimes it's better to just run it
Hell
yourself.
yeah.
You'll see there are many benefits to having a whole-ass town at your fingertips.
Sending them on a suicide mission.
Let's talk about crafting services. You should definitely consider building a runesmithing table. This is operated by Danig himself, using powerful Kalguuran blacksmithing arts. He can engrave runic
Alright.
magic
Oh my
onto your
God.
weapons using runes.
Keep hitting this mute button.
There are many rune types and combinations to choose from.
Oh.
And you can unlock new crafts that can be applied to your weapons as enchantments. Our design intention here is to take powerful effects you would usually only find on unique items, like this modifier, which you might recognize from Doomfletcher's Prism. Danig can apply it to your two-hand maces.
Oh.
There are over 100 different special crafting outcomes, ranging from ones very easily applied to very difficult. The rune types can be acquired through trade with Kalguur, or defeating powerful bosses. The Kalguuran tech benefits don't end there. We're also bringing back a formerly overpowered crowd favorite, Recombination. Isla is trying to master this. She just needs you to help her with getting resources. The system isn't as strong as it used to be, but it still allows you to combine two items together, hoping to get the best modifiers of each onto a single item.
What did you get?
Between
Oh
running a
my
town, shipping,
God.
and exploring, you'll be collecting a lot of extra gold. It is now the
You
primary
can turn any
resource
build
for
into a
two huge
headhunter?
new quality of life features that we are
Oh.
putting to test. Firstly, you can use gold to respec passive points. This is a feature from Path of Exile 2 that we've decided just makes sense to port back. The higher level you are, the more expensive it gets. And the next one is absolutely massive. A currency trade market. The Kalgurans have recruited Faustus, another NPC from the Heist League. He allows you to asynchronously buy and sell currency and most other stackable items with other players without the nuisance of price fixes and people who never respond. All you need to do is select what currency you want,
Oh my
say what you
god.
have, and your ideal ratio. It works kinda like a real-life stock market. Faustus will make the trade happen for you, so long as there is someone selling on the other end for the same rate or less. You'll
Oh
be able
my
to go
god,
back
this
to
is
blasting
brilliant.
bosses while trusty Faustus does the dirty work, notifying you when your currency is ready for collection.
Yeah,
All you need to
exactly.
do is pay him
It's
a
a great
small amount
way
of gold for his
to
time.
do it. I'm agreeing now. I wasn't sure
Cards on
about
the
it,
table,
but
this
I'm
is
liking
an
it more and
experiment
more
to see
as
if this type of
I'm.
asynchronous trading has a place in future Path of Exile releases. We're very excited to see how it goes. Now, given that Faustus is an expert in black market trade and shady deals, he also provides another service, offering items for gold. The items will generate with random rarity, and on average the modifiers on them are better than normal. This can be a very nice way to get some targeted items during the campaign. For serious crafters, it can be a great starting point for making those elusive, specific in-game items, which perhaps you could take to the runesmith afterwards. It's worth noting that you can invite Faustus to your hideout, where he will always be available for respecking, currency exchange, and black market items.
Oh shit.
As your town
Hell
grows,
yeah.
it will attract more attention, good and bad. Settlers of Kalguur features 3 endgame bosses that will close in on your operations, wanting a piece of the pie. They might capture and ransom your workers, even your entire ships. You'll have to make some tough decisions. Will you take them on, or pay
It's
them
a
off?
cool looking enemy.
One example of a boss is Sasan, the Bandit Lord. You won't stumble across this boss by accident. Instead, this unsavory character can come into your town at night and take your Atlas runners hostage, holding them for ransom. What happens next is up to you. Perhaps you'll refuse to negotiate with bandits, leading to a fight to defeat Sasan and rescue your workers. If you're not up for the heroics, you might simply pay the ransom in gold. Or perhaps these workers were especially disappointing, and you'll just leave them for dead in true Ray class fashion. They knew what they were signing up for, right?
Hell yeah.
Of course, the heroics might be worth it for other reasons. These bosses can drop new unique items.
Ooh.
In sum, Settlers of Kalguur is a very
Wait.
experimental league
Holy
with
shit,
new
I didn't
mechanics
even.
that drop new unique items.
Okay.
In sum, Settlers of
Interesting.
Kalguur is a very experimental league with new mechanics that will completely change how you play the core game. We've been sitting on a lot of these ideas for a while and can't wait to share them with you. But there's a lot more to this expansion. Let's talk about balance. Well,
Okay.
we've finally rebalanced the Gladiator. It's been a long time coming. Like before, there are passive skills that allow you to invest in bleeding and block. We've designed new skills replacing some of the old ones. Like this, War of Attrition, which is very handy for
Not
long,
even
sustained
halfway
boss
through?
fights.
Oh my god. No, we're
Further
not. Holy
alongside the
shit.
Gladiator theme, this new passive allows you to combine different weapon types while dual wielding to get a variety of powerful bonuses. For example, holding a dagger will give you more critical strike chance, while holding a mace gives you more area of effect. Of course, you could just use Varanastra for all weapon type bonuses. And finally, we have a new notable which allows you to invest in the newly added Retaliation skills. These are active skills which require you to meet a certain condition in order to use them. Once you meet that condition, you can unleash devastation on your foes. Here we have Eviscerate, which requires you to have a shield. Or for those who like to dual wield, Sword Storm, which is great for obliterating bosses. Here we have the Divine Retribution skill. This one has the condition requiring you to block. You can then unleash a devastating spell, causing lightning bolts to strike the ground in an X shape around your target location, doing huge amounts of damage. And of course, in true Path of Exile fashion, there are many avenues to invest in these mechanics further on the passive tree and a new support gem. You are able to increase the leeway duration after meeting the condition, reduce the cooldowns, or just increase their damage. The world's your oyster. The Gladiator wasn't the only Ascendancy class we've changed. As we develop Path of Exile systems, we often find ourselves reusing mechanics, increasing their depth, and allowing more avenues to invest into them. As such, the Raider Ascendancy class found itself lacking, with many of its passives commonly available elsewhere. We want our Ascendancy classes to always feel like they're pushing the boundaries, allowing you to change your character in ways that are meaningful and ideally unique. As a result, we've straight up removed the Raider, rest in peace, and we've added a new class in its place, the Warden. This class is largely inspired by its predecessor from the Affliction League, with a few changes. The Warden now focuses on elemental attacks, changing the behavior of Shock, enhancing Freeze, and replacing Ignite with Scorch. There's also a skill that allows you to go ballistic with your elemental damage, periodically. The class also grants Barkskin, which is a skill that can be used to mitigate physical damage from hits. After taking a number of hits, it increases your evasion, making it a great defensive choice. Finally, the last thing the Warden can specialize in is tinctures. These are an alternative to flasks from the Affliction League. We're bringing them back with adjusted mechanics. Tinctures can be placed in your belt, replacing flasks. You can inherently only have one tincture active at a time, and it requires a melee weapon to use. While activated, they grant a powerful buff. They can drop as magic items, or be modified with currency to grant extra bonuses.
Alright.
Here is a Prismatic Tincture. This one increases elemental damage by 100% while active. You'll notice it has two extra effects. One is that it applies Mana Burn every second. Mana Burn is a debuff that builds up while tinctures are active that causes you to lose mana, losing more mana for each stack. Tinctures also have a cooldown, so once you have disabled one, no other tincture can be enabled for a time. These changes make tincture use a more active and interesting choice than it was in Affliction. Both Mana Burn and the cooldown can be modified through modifiers on the tinctures or on the passive skill tree. Players will want to maximize their tincture uptime for sure. Here we have a couple other tinctures. The Poisonberry Tincture is excellent for poison builds. The Rosethorn Tincture is the choice for those wanting to deal critical strikes. You might be wondering,
I am so sorry.
with the removal
Holy
of the
shit.
Raider, where has the Frenzy Charge investment gone? We've added a Frenzy Charge passive skill to the Deadeye,
That came out the
replacing
blue.
Rupture passive
Holy
skill.
fuck.
On top of Ascendancy classes, we have revisited a number of core mechanics. This time taking pains to ensure easy access through the passive tree, skill gems, and simple items. We don't want all the powerful mechanics to be hidden behind layers of complexity. Let's just rapid fire through the key points. If you want more detail later, you can read the patch notes, which will be dropped after the livestream. Be sure to let us know what you think. There's a lot of changes, so be prepared for a bit of a shock to the system. I expect it will take several days for the dust to settle on this one. Firstly, we've made some drastic alterations to melee skills. Let me just rip this band-aid off. Melee totem skill gems have been removed.
Oh.
We're trying to adopt a philosophy with Melee going forward that, unlike other builds, it will be far less oriented around set and forget gameplay. You will deal the damage yourself, and you should be rewarded for doing so. To compensate, we have buffed the damage on almost every single melee skill. As the majority of this damage growth comes from gem levels, we have also made them cost more mana as they level, but it's nothing like the mana costs on spells. Here are some examples of the damage and costs before and after. Heavy Strike has gone from dealing 313% attack damage at gem level 20 to a massive 552% attack damage.
Oh my god.
It's also worth noting
that's almost 2x.
And Sweep has gone from dealing 281% attack damage to now dealing 664%
That's more than 2x.
attack damage at gem level 20.
Jesus.
These are just two examples, but the majority of melee skills are now dealing approximately 75% more damage at level 20. Of course, with melee comes close proximity combat, so you need some good defensive options. New base types with higher defensive values will now drop throughout the endgame. As you reach yellow, red, and purple maps, you can expect to find higher tier base types in each.
Ooh.
For example, Val Regalia and Hubris Circlet are no longer the best in slot items for Energy Shield. There are new base types that surpass them. Combined with some quality changes, which we'll talk about soon, you can now get better items than ever before in these slots. To compensate, we have reduced the amount of flat evasion and armor from the Grace and Determination auras. But overall, you're getting more defenses than before.
Damn.
On top of this, we have buff life modifiers on magic and rare equipment. You can now get as high as 189 additional maximum life from a single modifier on body armors, and more on other slots too. Kaum's Heart has also finally been restored to its former glory and once again grants plus 1000 to maximum life. I mentioned quality. Quality on weapons and armors is being changed to apply
plus 1000.
In other words, weapons with full
mine already blown.
Yeah,
bro. I am kind of. I'm having a hard time keeping up with. There's so much going on.
For almost all builds using physical damage attacks, and it will mean more evasion, armor, energy shield, and ward for all builds. Endurance charges no longer grant elemental resistances, but instead grant additional elemental damage reduction, making it multiplicative.
Maybe we're playing a melee build next week.
You can now get 4% per charge, alongside the existing 4% physical damage reduction. To compensate, we have made some changes to the Juggernaut, and various unique items like Eternal Damnation. You can get more maximum resistances from the tree, specifically around the Marauder class start. These of course can stack with the new elemental mitigation from endurance charges. On top of this, duels can now roll maximum elemental resistances as modifiers.
Ooh.
Since we're making elemental mitigation more accessible, we've heavily reduced accessibility to physical damage taken as chaos or elemental damage. Those stats are still around, but you should not expect to be getting full conversion anymore. All block passives have been buffed, so you can now more easily achieve block cap from just the passive tree.
That's pretty much a nerf then.
The Keystone Versatile Combatant has been improved to have less of a penalty to maximum block. A number of Life Leech passives have been buffed to generally allow for more acquisition of maximum leech rate for life.
Oh.
Vow Pact has been reinstated to its former glory for instant Life Leech, but only for melee. We've reworked Flesh and Stone. Previously, this buff skill granted Maim and Blind, depending on the stance of our character. Now, while in Sand stance, the skill simply provides damage mitigation, becoming more effective the closer you are to enemies.
Oh.
While in Blood stance, enemies will take more physical damage the closer you are to them. This skill will now greatly favor melee or close range gameplay.
Oh.
Given we're doing a Kalguur League, Ward has also received a bit of attention. There are new uniques that grant Ward, and the base restoration of Ward is now faster. To compensate, Olroth's Resolve has been nerfed, but Ward loop builds will still be possible. Anyway, That was most of the purely defensive changes. Now let's look at some of the offensive and utility-based ones.
Oh shit!
There are more and better ways to deal with mana as an attacker on the southern hemisphere of the passive tree. Wands, daggers, scepters, claws, and staves now have higher critical strike chance values than ever. Wands can go as high as 10% without modifiers. Sandstorm
Oh,
Visage has been made
hell
rare to
yeah.
compensate instead of reducing its power. For you wand attackers,
it is a lot,
wands
yeah.
now have higher attack speed than ever to compensate for their low damage. Wand exclusive skills such as Power Siphon, Kinetic Bolt, and Kinetic Blast now have faster attack times. Impale passives have been revised and in general buffed.
Oh, I don't know
The
what to
buffs
play.
granted by Warcries are now simpler but more significant and more universal to builds. They also now apply to allies by default. Banners have been reworked. Instead of having
Damn.
a reservation cost, they are now free. However, they don't grant a permanent buff. Banners now need to be placed for the effect to be active. However,
What?
once placed, they are far more powerful than before. Additionally, there are new
That's
ways
crazy.
to prolong the effects and more ways to invest in them than ever before.
Okay.
Rage has been made more fundamental and discoverable. Rage is now multiplicative attack damage, but no longer inherently grants attack speed or movement speed. It has a new cap, and you can find many new passive clusters that allow you to invest into the mechanic. The goal is to make Rage more powerful as a baseline, and less gated behind the use of specific unique items and ascendancy classes.
Oh, okay.
Berserk has been
that's
nerfed,
great.
just so you're aware. We have changed how bleed works too. You can now find aggravated bleed on the passive tree. When applied, all bleeds on the enemy will deal damage as if the enemy is moving, for the remainder of their duration.
Oh, that's sick.
The skill Ensnaring Arrow no longer interacts with bleed, so no more will you have to apply bleeds and swap to a bow. You can now achieve the same result using aggravated bleed passives without the annoyance. Rupture from the Deadeye has been turned into a support gem. We've added the new Overexertion support gem, which highly favors slam builds.
Ooh.
Now, it's time to look at a hot topic, Magic Find. In the Settlers of Kalguur expansion, we are going to be removing item quantity bonuses from all character items. This will not affect existing items in standard leagues. Magic Find is intended to be another axis on your gear you can scale once you have achieved the power you want. With item quantity being only available on unique items, this meant if you wanted to get the most out of it, you had to be playing a very specific build. We still want people to be able to invest into Magic Find, but now only through item rarity.
Okay.
This can be obtained on a number of rare item slots, and by a much larger number of builds. What about Ventor's Gamble, you might ask? Here it is now. This is one of the biggest balance patches we've ever done. I can't promise that existing builds will all be safe. Even we aren't able to predict all the outcomes here.
Right,
nor
that
have
makes
we
sense.
even
That
gone
makes
into
sense.
every single change.
I can
Just
see
the
why they
major
would do
ones.
that.
I don't know, man. Balance is hard. But the sheer number of new, viable options is exciting, especially for melee. And we're determined to drag the game in a better direction.
I am
Be sure to read the
impressed
patch
as
notes
hell
after this.
with
It's
what
going to be
they've
a
managed to do
ruckus.
here.
In 3.24, we overhauled the in-game experience by introducing a new tier of maps and reworking scarabs. We want to continue to improve these systems and introduce more exciting in-game content every league. 3.25 is no exception. Let's check out the
Wait,
myriad
so
of changes
there's-
coming in Settlers of Kalguur.
Oh my god, we
First
got
up,
okay.
we are changing many scarabs. We won't go into too much detail here to avoid getting lost in the weeds, but here's a few new ones.
We still not done.
Be
No,
sure
it's
to check
kinda
out the
crazy.
patch notes after this for more detail. We've also added
Okay.
an additional map device slot, which will be unlocked upon
Ooh.
completing your first 10-way Maven encounter. This simply allows for more combinations of scarabs and maps, resulting in more difficulty and more rewards. This is on top of the existing additional slot that can be unlocked by completing your first Tier 17 map. There are now 6 map device slots in total.
Oh my god.
You might have seen our teaser, where we revealed we'll be adding new special encounters to the endgame. One such encounter is the Nameless Seer, lurking in Tier 16 and 17 maps. This NPC will give you a selection of unique items, and you can pick one for free. In Tier 16 maps, he now has an additional feature, where you can scry a map. This allows you to swap the divination card drops of the current map with another map on your atlas.
Oh.
Just one caveat. You cannot have the same map be in multiple swaps at the same time. If you want to undo your choice, you can use a scouring orb on either map on your atlas.
Alright.
We've also made some updates to a couple of
That's
leagues.
kind of sick.
Blight has been updated with some atlas passive skill changes, and double anointed amulets can now drop in Blight Ravaged maps.
Ooh.
We've also introduced a new type of oil that can only drop from Blighted and Blight Ravaged maps. Ritual has also been updated. You can now find one new and many reworked base types, new unique items.
Oh my god, wait. Go back.
Ritual has also been updated. You can now find one new and many reworked base types, new
Damn.
unique items.
Okay, that's kind of... I'm sick.
Corpses you can use to raise as specters, and occasionally a fragment, granting access to the King in the Mist's boss fight from the Affliction League. He will drop a number of unique items that were familiar from the League, but not that which was taken, as it is now that which was taken away.
What the fuck?
However, he now drops a different modular jewel that you might recognize from the Necropolis League. In Tier 16 and Tier 17 maps, you can now encounter the Wildwood, also from the Affliction League. In case you missed it, the Wildwood is a mysterious forest fraught with danger. In the darkness, you will find magical wisps yearning for freedom. Upon releasing them, they will empower the monsters in your map, promising more danger but more rewards.
Okay.
You may also find random sentinels on the ground near the start of your maps, from the Sentinel League. They work in a similar way to before. They aren't items, but you can click on them and then they can be activated in that area at any time of your choosing. Upon activation, they will buff monsters around you, increasing their difficulty and rewards. And here's one for those who like to live dangerously. You may occasionally find a reflective mist from the Kalandra League. It has 2 outcomes. It could drop a jewelry item with randomly enhanced or inverted modifier values, or it can give a reflecting mist item, which can be used on an existing piece of jewelry to perform the same action at a time of your choosing. Good luck!
What the
There's
hell?
many other small changes to League content. We're removing the first 15 most boring waves of the simulacrum and rebalancing its rewards to improve the chances of finding unique jewels. We're also adding some of the beasts from Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts to the core pool. This includes the Black Morrigan.
Ooh.
In other news, we've added a set of new chisel types, which can be applied to your maps to get different bonuses.
What
While the
the
cartographer's
fuck?
chisel still increases item quantity,
Hey, what's up?
there are new ones that now increase rarity, pack size, increased chance for currency items, divination cards, and
Oh,
scout.
that's sick. That is
It's
so
also
cool.
worth mentioning that chisels now apply 20% quality per chisel to white maps, 10% to yellow maps, and 5% to red maps and higher. Unique maps still require the full 20 chisels. Also, only one type of chisel can be applied to a map at a time.
Oh, okay. I was just about to...
During
That's cool.
3.24, we made a change to Tier 17 maps that allowed them to be rerolled with Chaos Orbs. we are now expanding the currency types that can be used on them to also include currencies like chisels and Val orbs. Ultimately, the only restriction Tier 17 maps now have is that explicit modifiers cannot be removed from them.
Oh shit.
We have also revised the difficulty of these maps, as they didn't quite hit the mark. The monsters in them now have substantially less life, and deal less damage, meaning Tier 17 maps now better fit into the progression between
right, he
and
didn't
Uber
sleep at
Pinnacle
all.
content.
They were working their asses off
Lastly,
getting this up and
we've
running.
adjusted
Holy
the drop rate
shit.
of Valdo's puzzle boxes. Previously, we were adapting its drop rate based on the possible
This
outcomes
is
selected
so
by
crazy.
supporters. So many supporters really wanted Mage Bloods, so the box was hardly dropping. Thus, we have drastically increased the drop rate of the box, but reduced the probability of getting chase unique items from it, like Mage Blood. Overall, we have taken care not to reduce the number of Mage Bloods total in the economy. We figured it was better to have more tickets for fun rather than barely seeing any boxes in a league. We've been hard at work
That makes
improving the
sense.
Path of Exile experience on consoles. With native ports for the Xbox Series consoles already being released, and PS5 on the near horizon, the game now takes full advantage of the console hardware. Loading times have been reduced even further, pop-in has been reduced, and textures won't start unloading in heavy scenes. Furthermore, overall visual fidelity has been improved for all new generation consoles.
Okay,
Path of Exile
that's
now
great.
uses
That's
the highest available resolution
smart.
textures and water effects.
That's really, really smart.
We've installed a new upscaling algorithm that improves the crispness of dynamic resolution, with an additional anti-aliasing pass on top of that. With these upgrades, we also support variable refresh rate TVs and monitors on PlayStation 5 and on all Xbox consoles.
Nice.
In the options, players can now choose which aspect of visual fidelity they want to focus on: resolution, image quality, or target frame rate. In 3.24, we
that
added
is
some new
brilliant.
encounters and secrets to the campaign. In Settlers of Kalguur, we're adding even more. We're not going to spoil them all here, but keep an eye out for anything unfamiliar on your adventures. Who knows what you'll find? I mean, I know, but still. There's an underground bunker underneath the refinery, guarded by powerful robots. I wonder what's been hidden away here. How do I unlock this mysterious door? What riches must lay inside?
Yes. I like
Blighted
this.
growths have appeared in the gardens and sewers of Sarn. A vault containing riches can be found in the reliquary. As you might have seen in our teasers, there's a slew of quality of life features we've been working on.
Maybe we're doing some
Here's a
blight
quick
this
summary.
season. It seems like
You'll
they
no longer need
buffed
to
that
interact
shit
with
like a
waypoints
lot.
to unlock them. You can just walk by and they'll activate automatically. When using keyboard and
that's
mouse,
nice.
you'll be able to pick up items from further away. We're adding static life bars to some bosses. Not all bosses will have them just yet, but we'll be adding more over time. You can now see which divination cards drop in each map by hovering over them on your atlas.
Ooh, that's
When you
awesome.
die, you can now resurrect without having to reactivate all your reservation effects, like auras and heralds.
Oh, that's
You can start
that's
harvesting
a
counters
lovely
with
fucking
just a single action.
improvement.
The amount of quality provided by currency items like whetstones is now based on the item level, rather than item rarity. Those currencies now apply a 20% quality to very low level items, with that amount reducing as the item level increases.
Oh, okay.
Next up, we're going to be talking
Fair
about
enough.
our new League supporter packs. Today, we're launching two new series of supporter packs, the Paladin and Penance packs.
The Paladin.
Each tier contains the pack's
Penance.
full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Settlers of Kalguur League, and will leave the
Okay.
store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic, and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The
Sounds
Paladin
awesome.
series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Adorn your weapon or shield with the Paladin weapon effect.
That
Make a
looks
show of
kinda
leveling
insane.
up with the Harpy flyover level up effect.
That's
Equipping the
kinda...
Divine Paladin armor set will periodically cause slain enemies to be consecrated and laid to rest.
That's
This set
sick.
also comes with a matching back attachment. Both the helmet and back attachment have options to display
I don't know
the
if I
radiant
like
glow
the
or not.
armor too
You pick.
much.
The Divine Judgment finisher effect locks onto unique enemies before obliterating them with a laser from the heavens.
That is cool, however.
May
That
your
is
critical hits resonate across Rayclast with the Cleric's Bell back attachment. Invite your friends to spend a day at the races in the Vasteri Racecourse hideout. Add rowers to the track to race them against each other. Or you can just spectate from the sidelines.
What the hell?
The Penance Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. With the Penance back attachment equipped, a repentant soul is chained to your back and lashed with lightning.
Wow, that is kind of insane.
Place none other than the Trial Master in your hideout and have him comment on your chaos
A classic, but far fairer now than in ancient times.
and Val crafting attempts.
Your luck is over, fool.
He even keeps a
Okay.
record of how many Chaos and Val orbs you've used in your hideout during the league, or across all leagues. Blood
Okay.
stains your armor the more life you lose when wearing the Acolyte's Penance armor set. The Zealot's Madness portal effect fragments as you near it.
That is
The
cool as
Cauldron
fuck.
map device
Holy
boils
shit.
maps, fragments, and scarabs placed into it, keeping a tally of how many have been thrown into the pot in the current league or across all leagues.
That is kind of insane
The
too.
exiled squire pets follow in your footsteps, hyping you up for battles,
No sweat for you, boss.
providing pessimistic commentary,
The cycle repeats.
or voicing their disdain for you to bring you down a peg.
About time you kicked the bucket.
Okay.
These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalguur. Meanwhile, the Solar and Eldritch packs leave the store forever at the launch of Settlers of Kalguur League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Now, we have one more thing to announce before getting into the Q&A. We are soon going to be running a small closed beta test for Path of Exile 2. We have been taking signups for the Path of Exile 2 beta tests over at pathofexile2.com. We will only be selecting a very limited number of people for this first test, but if you want to make sure that you are considered, then head over to the website and register your email address now.
Alright, we gotta do that too. Holy shit.
Lampi er blødhed til dig og dem du holder af.
What? Was it done?
Yeah, I kind of want to.
Oh shit, okay. So the Q&A part, I would love to see that part too. Good old Lambie. This one, right? One and a half hours, yeah.
Day for the first time ever for a very exciting and massive Q&A after some real whiplash from some
There's
huge announcements.
so
where
much
it
stuff
kept
has
going,
just happened. It felt like almost we were watching a new
you guys
game.
just kind of got in a room together and set up the whiteboard and put everything on there, huh?
End of the day, really, it's we have this much time, we have this many people who can do what we do, and we just keep going till the end. Like, it doesn't stop here. Like, we've still got one more week, right? Like, there are still changes that can be made, so we're going to keep making them. So, but yeah,
I'm interested in how this is gonna
Jonathan
like
was saying to me the other day, it's
work in
that big,"
practice.
and I was like, mate, that was
because
crazy.
it
Just kept
looks
going.
amazing. It looks
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely
I guess,
crazy.
From my perspective, I kind of look at this and I'm like, okay.
I like the fact that they're bringing back
when
a
I
couple of
compare it to the amount of stuff
older
that's being created
mechanics
for
because
PoE,
I
it
haven't
seems small, but
played
you
any of
actually
those
think about it, it's
leagues,
like,
so I have no idea.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, making a whole new game there, but we are only talking about Path of Exile 1
sure,
today,
for sure.
and you gave it plenty of space to shine. And we've got returning leagues, we've got a whole new league with a lot going on, and some very experimental content as well. And with all of that, you did tease us once again with the concept and potential of a boat league, and yet you sailed away and left us stranded on the dock once more. What gives?
It's very much
Recombinators
not
are huge.
intentional.
Right, that's
I suspect,
insane.
And honestly, I
It's super
I
cool.
honestly
It looks
reckon
like a
if
really,
someone
really good
actually got a
mechanic.
boat league, they wouldn't end up actually liking it. But we can only really prove that by testing it, and so maybe one day we'll get there. But until then, you're just going to have there'll be boats, but you won't be on the boats.
I found so many rings
maybe
where
one
there's
day,
like
we'll see.
3 tier
Alright,
ones and then like
we'll have to keep
3
dangling
shitty
that
tiers on
just
it,
out
and
of reach
then
for us.
you would just wish you could like
So,
put that shit together with another ring.
Does this feel like to you
I
guys?
could see
I've
how
seen this theory
useful that
floated
would
around
be.
a lot of a bit of a
Gonna be
send-off
insane.
league for Path of Exile 1, in a sense that we've got the Path of Exile 2 beta kind of
I'm
just
still
around the corner
kind
now.
of
I guess I don't
torn
really see it
on
that
what
way
to
because,
play
you know,
though.
we intend to keep on making
And-
PoE 1 leagues. You know, we're
Man.
like you know, it really is just the standard lead cycle.
I don't know if I want to go for level
the-
100 or
It is hard as a studio
Right.
making two things at the same time, for sure. But that's something we just have to sort of get used to. And yeah, we certainly wouldn't want people to think, oh yeah, it's like the
We
last
all
PoE
torn.
1 league or something
Yeah.
like that, right? It's definitely
Yeah,
not
I
the
don't
case.
quite. I'm
We're
not
going to be
sure.
continuing to make PoE 1 leagues, and that like you should expect to see things of this size in the future as well.
So, Settlers of Kalguur, it adds gold, and I think we should touch on that and the whole currency exchange thing first. So, it's obviously using gold for its features, its progression with the workers and upgrading buildings and things like that. But you're also experimenting with some core game features like respecs and a trading fee for the
Going to
new
trade
currency
league. I am
exchange.
too.
Huge
I am doing
announcement
trade
there.
league this
So
league
those
as
that have
well.
been following
I
Path of
want
Exile
to
2 will
complete
be
as
familiar
much
with
as
the concept
possible.
of gold and why that's a thing that you might add to the game now after it's not had gold for so long. But could you explain what is the idea behind gold?
So really, I mean, gold is something that PoE 1 obviously never had. I think it's something that, in retrospect, I think that didn't help the game. The important thing with gold is that it's not used as a trading currency. Like, gold needs to be something that is only, like, it's bound to the individual character, and that means what it effectively is a measure of how much actual play that you've done, right, since you can't trade it between players. And that means that it's actually ends up being a perfect currency to be able to do something like gate the player-to-player trade with an automated system like that, because in order to be able to you can't just sit there flipping all day. You actually have to be able to go and play the game as well, and that sort of prevents the kind of crazy inflation that you can get with other automated, auction house type systems that you see in other action RPGs, or at least that's the theory. But the thing is that we have to test this stuff, and this is the reason why we're really keen to do it as a league mechanic to start with, to sort of see.
I like this because
is it going to work?
testing it out
is the economy going to go weird? What's going to happen? That way we can kind of dip our toe.
Makes
in,
it obvious
see what
if you want to
happens,
put it in the new
test
game
this,
or
because,
not.
the thing with this
So
trade
smart.
stuff is you really cannot test it, like in the office, right? Like it is simply we don't have thousands and thousands of people that you would need to be able to actually see how that goes. So on some level,
There's too many changes.
we kind of
Bleed
need
and Pale
our
buff,
community to see what happens with the
Gladiator
economy to
Warden
be able to do something like
classes,
that, and that's just
and all
one
the
of
melee
few areas
skills.
where
Right?
it's like
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying. Like
So,
I'm.
what we're hoping
I
is
don't
that
know,
everything
man.
just goes fine. It's just way better. We can then
I am
immediately put
so
it in, the core game
torn
as soon as
on
we're
what to
done
play
with
right
that,
now.
ideally without too many
On one
tweaks.
hand, I want to
And
play
then,
something I'm
that'll be good, but,
slightly
we
familiar
really have
with,
to
so I
see
know what
by
I'm
putting it in a league first.
doing. And on the
And
other
thing
hand, I want to
really
go
like
with
about
some
this gold idea is
other
that it
new
allows
stuff
you to
that are just
effectively be
insane.
converting this idea of friction in the user experience of like physically trading into actual gameplay.
Right,
The stuff
for
we
sure.
like doing.
For sure.
You wait for somebody to
Yeah,
come
I
up
mean,
with a hipster build.
That really helps. And as I
That
said,
sounds
the
awesome.
system,
I
you
might
know,
do
it'll
lightning
be also
arrow
really nice to be able to see how it
start
works
out
before we
with,
ship PoE 2 as well.
and
Like,
use
it's really
that
nice
to like
you know, to be
get
able
through
to do
all the
that.
maps.
We may be able to go further than this. The intention is to go further, and you know, so this is effectively our first the first part. Yeah,
And then basically save up for
What-
like some
there
kind
is
of
also one
crazy
thing
melee
about this,
build.
and just because it maybe
and just
wasn't
make,
clear,
like,
is that despite being in the league,
Something
gold
insane.
is just dropping as items from killing everything in the game. You kill monsters, you play the game, you're getting gold. You don't actually need to engage with the league to use the gambling, use the respecking, or use the currency exchange. So, despite being in the league and the gold is only dropping,
I don't
in
know
the
if I
league
would
due to us
agree with that being
more
boring,
experimental
but
with
it's
it,
just
seeing how it goes.
I.
Like, if you don't like the league's mechanics, it's
the
not
better
like those are
choice
gated behind that as well. I just wanted to clarify
might
that
be
just in case
using
anyone was like,
something
you know,
that are
thinking,
really
"Oh,
good
you
at
know,
mapping
you
in the
could just invite
beginning,
Faustus into your
just to
hideout
get
and then
it
just
like
use him for that, and, you know,
through that
and
part,
that
and
can be
then
the other
once
thing
you're
to do
through
for
that part,
all that
and you can
currency
like
exchange,
start
the item
unlocking
gambling and stuff is
the-
all like
the
fully
higher
accessible,
end
even if you
fights and
basically
shit.
don't do any of the other
That's
stuff.
Yeah.
when I
Which
want to
means,
switch to
of course,
something
if it is
crazy.
successful, it can port into the core game very,
Yeah.
very easily. You just turn gold drops on, put Faustus in, done. I mean, there's a little bit more than that.
Right,
but,
right. I'm
you know,
not
that's
like,
generally the
but
summary
it
of
might be
doesn't have to
something
come
like
with the
that,
whole
right?
Kind
Like
of city building element and all of that comes along.
the ranger
Yeah,
class,
so
let
do
me
you
say
see
it like
it
that.
being something that's likely
Something-
to stick around?
it might
and
not
that's
be
kind of the
I mean,
intention.
lightning
that is
arrow
certainly our
specifically,
intention.
but
It's
I'm
just that
saying
we
like
want to be able to still
I
have
want
an
to do
out
something that
if,
I'm
things
slightly
go
familiar
horribly
with
wrong.
to begin
Or
with,
if
so
we
I
feel
know
like
what
we
I'm
need to
doing,
change some stuff. So yeah,
and
like,
then
it is
save
certainly our
up some
intention to keep it in if we
currency,
can.
It's a nice
and then
little
from
safety
there,
net being part of the
hopefully
league for you then.
invest
Safety
into
net.
something that's super
Probabilities
crazy.
are high, and I suspect also no one's going to let us remove it, right? So like, let's be realistic here.
It would have to go horrifically wrong for everyone to be like, okay, you were
I might
right,
change my mind,
don't
though.
do this.
Yeah.
I really want to try a melee build.
So
I'm
there's also
really
this
kind of hooked on
gambling
that.
thing with Faustus where you can buy these un-ID'd items and actually look pretty powerful from what I saw. Like the items it was producing were like those really well rolled rares. What's the idea behind the gold-based gambles? Why is that a part of it?
Ultimately, it's a sink. You don't want gold to just be accumulated forever. But the awesome thing is,
I
that it's a
also
way
feel
to
like I
target
didn't
specific
really
base
get
types.
to
and that's ultimately
play a
the luxury.
lot
So
with that
obviously when you're
mining
going through
build.
the campaign and
Might
you're
do
looking for
something like
specific
that as
targeted
well,
gear
because
upgrades,
it
very,
was
very useful
really,
for that.
really
And
crazy, but I just never
it's-
got to
as you get
scale
higher
it
and higher,
that
level,
well.
I guess as you upgrade your tavern, I guess technically sort of, but also as you just get higher level, it upgrades the modifier tier rating, which was a term some people might not know, but it was used in Necropolis League, which effectively cuts off the bottom X tiers that can generate. So the items by endgame will be generating with a minimum tier higher than something, and thus they are pretty powerful items.
It's worth mentioning that like there's quite a lot of changes in this league around the idea of how can we make rares
There's a
more
shit
viable.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like quite a lot of
Knight was
balance
saying
things
that
are
too. I
actually
don't know what it
around
is
here.
though.
And that
I'm
extends
not
to
sure
things
what
like,
it is.
You know, adding more base types higher up and so on to make it so that there's you know, like that they can compete with
That's
unique
hella
the
fun.
higher tier life mods,
I love it.
all this sort of stuff, and the gambling and the ability to get rares this way as well is like once again another part of this. So we really want to try and make it so that and the reason why that's important is because if you know, like Mark said in the video with the item quants problem as well. That was one of the other things that sort of meant that you had to be tied to specific
It is.
uniques,
It sounds
like, for
insane.
sure. And so yeah, we just wanted to remove more of the barriers that
Because the
allow
one I
people to
had
just be
on
able to use
the
rares,
hex build
and then
was
that opens up for more different
11
build types,
something,
if
and it was
less uniques
maxed
become
out,
mandatory.
or not maxed out,
So,
but it was really,
that's,
really
you know,
good.
As I said, it's just another one of those things that kind of affects that.
And if 10 is the
So
base,
with that being
that's
an attractive
crazy.
expenditure of gold, how much do you want players to be able to trade currency freely between each other with this very fast and asynchronous currency exchange system?
Hold on.
Obviously, gold is your ability to control how much of that's happening in terms of volume. How liquid do you want any
There's
currency
a
gold drop to be?
fucking
So
90-page
for
book
currency,
of
in
patch
particular, we're
notes.
fine with like a very high amount of
What the
liquidity.
hell?
Later on, you know, we've talked about how in PoE 2 we're going to be doing asynchronous trade for items as well. For that, we need to have a bit less liquidity, and the reason why is because currency can sync itself. Like
It's
so effectively
staining.
that means that
Oh shit.
we don't have to
Oh,
like,
that's
worry too much
awesome.
about fast trade there. Like the relative value should establish.
I
and everything
donated
should be
Steve
okay, and,
all
like,
of
it
my
shouldn't-
scarabs
shouldn't
and
matter too
alt
much
flames
about that
last
being highly
season.
liquid. That said, there is still a gold price to do it because we don't want people literally just sitting there just doing only that.
30,000
forever, but,
words?
you know,
Holy
this is something
fuck.
that we don't want to. It certainly should feel like if you're just playing regularly, that you can get all the currency you want from the trade market and you don't feel restricted by the gold price. Like, it's not intended to be something that a normal player would run into, assuming that they're just doing normal things with currency.
Of course, it is still meant to have high friction early game.
Yeah, because you don't want
to demean the leveling experience and the new player experience where they think the right
Yeah.
answer is to go and just trade stuff away.
I'm gonna look up the patch notes real quick because I'm really interested in a couple of things. There's some things I want to know right now. I want to know the changes in scarabs for sure, 100%. Where are we gonna find that? Am I blind here? Control F? Yeah. Here we go. There's some. Yeah. No. 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 Nope. Oh, there we go. Ouch. Ouch, they nerfed that one hard. Damn. Yeah, that's the first, like, the first thing I was thinking was about that, because then I'm not gonna I don't think I want to go for like level 100 then, like super competitively. It's just gonna chill with it. Gonna do something else. Okay. I don't know if that's a nerf or a buff to the Harbinger, but that sounds kind of interesting. Okay, so they did change quite a bit of the scarabs. That okay, that makes sense. Okay. That is true, Toro. That is very true. You do have an extra slot to put in more scarabs, so it does make sense to nerf it quite a bit. But crazy that they okay. That was like the main thing I was wondering if they're gonna change. That is sick. Let me just go back up. Did they change the divination cards themselves? No, right? Okay, so they re-enabled. Okay. Okay, so they brought back some cards and then they removed a couple or disabled them. Okay. Okay. That's okay, that's kinda crazy. Damn, there's a holy shit, there's so much stuff that is insane. Damn. That's all bug fixes? Holy shit, there's a lot. Damn. Holy shit, there's a lot of fixes here. Okay, holy fuck, there's... Okay. Holy shit, there's so much fucking shit they changed. Wait, so there's... it feels a little bit like they changed so much stuff that maybe a lot of the builds that were like great before aren't as great now as they were before. Oh yeah, right, they changed the banners completely, so now I have to place them. That's insane. They cut the lyriums in half. That's insane too. I am so, bro, I am so down to get into this shit. I'm so ready. Seems insane. Seems absolutely crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I like these armor sets, honestly. I like all the other things. For instance, like the portal, the bag attachment, the blacksmith, all that stuff, right? That's mad cool. But I don't know about the armor sets themselves. They are a little dull. I really like this one. This one is fucking insane. See, I don't like that one either too much. I do like this one though. This one is kind of insane. I'm wondering also what the new vault is gonna have. This set was kind of cool, this ghost set. I'm not gonna lie, this set is kind of sick. Kind of like that. So I'm wondering what the new one is gonna hold. And there's also the right, and I'm kind of wondering what the challenge outfit is gonna be this time around too. Yeah, exactly, the challenge reward. That's what I'm kind of like most excited about. I so wish I had the affliction challenges done because that set was mad cool. The black with the purple, that shit was insane. But yeah, it's overall a crazy freaking update. There's just so much stuff going on here. It's kind of insane. Can I compress this one? Yeah. I thought there was a way to like watch a video. It's only on the runes.
The Kalguur Runesmith supporter pack contains its full value in points, a complete armor set, and 4 additional microtransactions. Crafting items with the Kalguur Runesmith armor set equipped causes a Kalguur priest to materialize, infusing your item with runic brilliance. The matching Kalguur Runesmith cloak becomes energized when you reach maximum frenzy, endurance, or power charges. Leave it to the professionals with a Kalguur Forgemaster Station hideout decoration. These blacksmiths will set up shop in your hideout and assist you in crafting items fit for your battles.
What can I do for you?
Wow, that is insane too.
The Steam Cord Rune hideout decoration lets out a chime as you run over it. Place as many of these runes as you like and create your own tune. The Triskelion Radar character effect is the latest display of Kalguur innovation. It points to the highest rarity monster you can see and shines based upon their rarity.
Oh, that's cool too. I like this armor set. I do. I really do. Because it looks mad cool. That's gonna stay around though, right? Like this one doesn't disappear. This is like a special set. This portal though, that's mad. That portal is absolutely madness. That's insane. Holy fuck. Oh, it disappears at the end of the year. Oh, okay, I see. I've been thinking about getting the Delve currency tab and the Blight currency tab. Just kind of seems like a good investment too. I haven't played for 2 weeks. I'm super rusty. Yeah, I like that too, man. It's awesome. I like that. It's a great way to set it up. What did I lie about? No, I'm not really gonna play Toro, if that's what you mean. I was gonna talk a little bit of. Right. But I was gonna talk about the just armor set. That was actually why I opened the game up. The what's it called? The challenge set. That should be no. That's all good. It's all good. But that's actually why I was gonna open up the game. I'm not gonna play. That's not where it's at though. Fuck. It's on the. Is it on this character? Oh no, that's right. I took all of them off, didn't I? I did. Oh right. So okay. Here we go. So that was the one from this league, right? Was the no? It was H. Yeah, it was H. I got to 32. I don't think I'm gonna be able to complete any more. The rest of them are kind of a little bit fucked up, or it takes something specific to do. That's gonna be tough. That one is gonna be tough too. That's the feared. I'm missing the feared. That one is just extreme. I haven't even completed any of those. That's kind of insane because I've done all the fights multiple times and I haven't even completed one of them. That's bad. That's terrible. Haven't done any of those. I don't. These are hard though. These are, well, those two aren't too hard. It's just me. I haven't respect for it. That's why. I'm pretty happy with how far I got on it this time around. Like we got the tier 5. What's that? Not the coolest set in the world, but it does look kind of sick. I hope they make something as cool as the black one. The black one was still cooler to me. I think that one was the coolest one. The one that has these black boots and the gloves, the purple gloves. These are freaking awesome. Man, I wish I had done this one. The character looks fucking weird without the cosmetics on. What the hell? I don't know what this character looks like. This is kind of insane. The colossal conditional requirement to be cleared on Ubers. Buy Weta? What the fuck is Weta? Get a free mystery box. Oh, a mystery box like these ones? You can buy anything? Oh. You'll get one Necropolis box. Oh shit, okay. That's cool. I should probably get that fucking pack then, honestly. I'm not gonna do that right this instant. Because I'll have to put in my credit card number and all kinds of shit. I'm guessing this was the one you were talking about with the currency?
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. As you may have seen in our GGG Live event last week, we announced that we will be adding a currency exchange market in the Settlers of Kalguur expansion. It is important to know that this feature is only available in the Settlers of Kalguur leagues, and will not be available on standard leagues. Today, we'll go over some of the basics of how to use this new system.
Oh shit, that's cool as fuck.
The currency exchange can be
GG,
opened
man.
at Faustus,
The Atlas tree,
in
the
a new area in this
red
expansion.
one, the seed that
Despite
grows, that
using
shit is
Faustus,
cool as hell.
this system is for player-to-player trading, so will not be available in solo
Counts,
self-found.
packs,
It's worth inviting
points,
Faustus to your hideout.
spendings. not
so you
pack
can use this
purchase.
feature between in-game maps at your leisure without having to visit Kingsmarch every time. Here is the user interface for the currency exchange market. Here and here are where you can select which currency you want to trade for.
Wait, so you're saying like if I buy the $60 pack and spend some points, then it counts. But if I just buy the $60 pack, it doesn't count?
And which currency you want to trade away. By selecting these buttons, it will open a window that displays all possible items that can be traded through this system.
Fair enough.
When selecting the currency you have, it will consider your inventory and a number of your stash tabs, so you don't need to move it out of your stash to your inventory first. At the top here, you will often see a section called Popular. Most people trade using common currencies, like Chaos Orbs or Divine Orbs. When inputting the currency you're hoping to get, the Popular category will include a subset of the items that have been used to trade for that currency recently. Specifically, the 12 items with the highest trade volume. It is highly recommended, if you want to fulfill your exchange quickly, that you select one of these popular currencies.
Okay.
Now that we have selected both the currency we want and have, we need to specify a ratio. This ratio shows the best possible outcome currently available for the exchange you are trying to do. If you hover over this ratio, it will show a number of the best ratios available. If you want to get your exchange completed in a timely manner, it is recommended the ratio you set is equal to one of these or similar. You'll notice as you increase the amount of currency you want, there is a gold cost, represented here.
Oh, right. I don't have any spare points though.
In order to trade using this method, you need to pay a gold cost, which you can find throughout Rayclast in the Settlers of Kalguur League.
For some reason, what I
This
bought
value has
fit
been
it
balanced
perfectly
around
with the amount of
mid-game
points I had.
campaign. So at early game it can be quite difficult, if not entirely unreasonable, to use this system. By end game, it should be relatively trivial, and just serve as a nominal cost. As gold cannot be traded, you must be playing the game in order to engage with this system. Now, we can place our exchange, which will add it down here. The moment your exchange is placed, it can start to be filled. So take care to be certain when placing exchanges. There is a limit to the number of exchanges you can have at any given time. This limit is shared across all leagues. We will be experimenting with this limit.
Okay.
You are able to watch your exchange be filled in real time. An exchange can be partially filled, and at any time you can close your exchange, after which you can take your currency. Closing your exchange will not refund your gold. Once an exchange has been completed, you will receive a notification. If you are offline or happen to miss the notification, you should make sure to keep Faustus placed in your hideout within sight. He will have this icon above him when he has something for you to collect.
Ooh, nice.
Exchanges that are ready to be collected can be seen highlighted here. To retrieve your currency, just simply select it and place it in your inventory. On keyboard and mouse, you can control-click to move an entire stack, and you can control right-click to move as many as would fill your inventory. When using PlayStation or Xbox controllers, or similar, you can press square or X respectively to do the same. Press and holding those same buttons will move as many as would fill your inventory. It is worth noting, you can now also use these same binds to bulk move currency from your inventory to your stash. When doing player-to-player trades the traditional way, it also now uses this keybind for the same action, so it can be consistent across all interfaces.
Yes.
At any time, you can hover the information hover provided on the panel to find out more, or if you just need to refresh your memory.
This is great.
We are very
no more
excited to see how the
fucking
currency
having
exchange
to
market
fill your
goes
whole
in this
inventory
league
with
and figure out if it has a
Chaos
place in
Orbs to
future
buy
Path of Exile
divines.
expansions,
Oh my god.
and what place that might be. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you for the release of Settlers of Kalguur on July 26. Thanks for trade, stay safe, see you then.
That is great. That's just brilliant. Bro, this is brilliant.
it to be that you're more finding items there and getting things organically, and only later in the game does it become.
So the gold prices late in the game are like
Correct.
not a roadblock at all.
Which
The
I
gold
don't
prices
mind,
early
but
in
it's
the
just
game are
annoying.
a
Like
roadblock.
I don't
So that's
mind
kind of
having to buy
preventing
the
that
items
early game
themselves,
kind
but
of
the,
issue.
Yeah, because you want
part
now,
that becomes
when
annoying
you're
is
leveling
spending
first character, you do
3,500
like
chaos
that.
on the
Exactly,
vines,
Not to be like,
Yeah,
oh,
you don't
this
want
should
to
and
be
then
do
having
that.
to
Yes,
do it
exactly,
over
exactly.
3 times where
okay.
you're
But that,
putting all
honestly
that
sounds
shit in
like a
your
relief
inventory.
that
That
you're
is
not
annoying.
worried about that sort of thing too much, because
Right.
that that kind of incentive to hoard
Right,
currency.
right,
and
right.
not
Currency.
spend it
Yeah,
all
I
is always a bit of a
understand
bummer.
that.
Right.
But that's
This
the
feels like
part
a
that
bit
was
of a
really
momentous
kind of
occasion,
annoying with the whole trading
the
was having to
currency
buy
exchange. This
3,500
this whole
chaos
system
worth of
of like the
divines,
currency
and then having
that
to
sinks
do it
itself
over
and
3
stuff for so
times.
long, and now finally blending that with gold and this system.
This
Huge.
seems
Yeah,
more
for sure. I mean, it's also just a mental
useful.
block as well, right? Because it's like, how
Yeah.
can you
because
add
now I
gold
can
to
just
PoE?
go
It's like,
select
it's just one of those
3,500 chaos.
It's one of those things.
I don't have to
This,
put them in my
um,
inventory.
This
That is
was
insane.
one of the key components that was part of like designing the league. It was largely
It's
like
a
how
great
we started from that
feature,
point, because again, when you
like
ask most
quality of
people in the
life
office,
feature.
most players in the office and outside the office, what is the like number one problem with Path of Exile? And then what experience gives them the most negative reaction?
For sure.
It's often trade.
Yep.
And especially, and I can't remember if it was last league or the league before, and I was trying to buy. What was I trying to buy on the currency? It was like one of the catalysts. I was like, okay, I just need a catalyst up my rings and ammo.
Oh man.
And you know, you get 100 people on the trade website.
Yep.
I just went spam, 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 spam,
Uh-huh.
spam. I got 100 people. And guess how many replied? Zero. Zero people replied to me. Now,
It's real.
I know you're meant to scroll down because all the top people are just bad actors. And then it's like, okay, I actually got to a point where I was like, okay, genuinely no one replied. And then like so I was just like on Discord, I was like, yo, I need some help buying these things. Can everyone just start messaging everyone trying to get these catalysts for me, please? And so, yes, it is actually one of, or was hopefully to be no longer soon, the most frustrating experience you can
Yeah.
have as a player at
It
endgame.
was something else.
And yes, so when we're designing the league, we're like, okay, if this is the number one problem, how are we not taking some sort of stride to solve it? And so that's kind of where, well, it almost acted as the basis of how can we build something around that, because then it's gold, and then it's like, what can you do with gold? And then we just extrapolated from there into all kinds of things. So yeah, I like that a lot of what we're developing now is coming from a how can we solve actual problems first, as opposed to
Such
just,
a
well,
great
as well
mentality.
as
Bro,
opposed to
that's what
entirely, like, how
Blizzard
can we
are
add cool
missing.
content. It's like, how
That's
can we
why
do
they're
both of these
failing.
things at the same time? And I feel like a lot of what's going on in this patch is with that philosophy, as opposed to just here's cool stuff. It's solving problems and adding cool stuff at the same time.
I love this
Hell
trend
yeah.
of you just doing the thing we do and being like, this is
I love
awful,
this.
just like you said.
I love this
Oh,
thought process. It's amazing.
Actually
This is
awful.
how it should be.
Like I tried to in that live stream, I tried to voice my disgust at when I talked about price fixes and people who don't reply. But like, if you had got my actual emotional reaction, I would have probably been screaming a little bit and raging like a little bit more.
Yeah, most infuriating thing. And it was one of the things that ground me down last league that stopped me from enjoying as much as I could. So it's huge, and it really pairs in with like the Scarab changes and stuff recently as well. So we'll talk more about that later. But the currency exchange includes fragments, scarabs, anything that's homogenized.
Exactly, that's the
Right.
word. So yeah, anything, so obviously it can't work with things like maps and so on, because they don't, they're not all identical. It's just anything that where they're exactly the same. No one item can be distinguished from another.
It has to be able to stack.
Yep.
Is ultimately the goal. Yeah. So yes, use the existing trade system for the things that can't. So that's like beasts can't be, maps can't be, incubators can't be because they have a level. Things like that. They can't because they cannot guaranteed stack on a single thing. And it's not like you don't want to have a tab of incubators where it's got every incubator level 1, every incubator level 2, every incubator level 3, in this giant mega eternal list. So things like that you'll be trading using the existing way, and all stackables you'll trade hopefully using the new way.
All right. But
div cards?
Yes, div cards are in
Okay.
there. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Anything that is stackable,
There's just so many of them, that's all.
yeah, anything that's stackable and has no other variable. Yep.
Wow. And you were telling me that like it will list like the 13 most common trade pairs for each item, and
yeah, so this is the thing, because with this trade system, you can technically trade any item for any other item, because that's how PoE works. So we have to have some kind of way to basically tell players, okay, so here's the actual thing that like people are trading this with. So effectively, unless you're the first person ever to trade something, then it's going to say like, here's the most popular several things that people trade for the store, trade for the sim. It also shows you like the market price, obviously, for what's been going on, as well as okay, so we're getting into stock
This is
market
great for
terms
new
here.
people. This is so great.
First five price levels in the order book. So that's to say you can see like what the how many things are available at a few different price levels, and that will allow you to do your trade. So I suppose some people will be learning more about the stock market pretty soon. I guess we'll have I
mean, some people are going to love that.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing just to make sure people understand is like this is still player to player trade. Like you don't know who you're trading with, and like it will be instant if there's like liquidity in the market, but it is coming from someone else's actual stash.
Yeah, it's a
isn't this how
trade.
they have it on
some
PlayStation
people,
and
when they
Xbox?
see the video, they're okay, it's just like you're trading with the system somehow. There's some kind of like market thing with the system like determines a price or something. No, it's not that. You're actually buying off someone else. So any trade you do where you've got like I'm buying this,
New
I'm selling
people will
this, someone else is
see
into
the
the
amount
trade,
of
the other one's
currencies
selling
on the
this, I'm buying
screen,
that.
and then all the
prices
Now,
of
what I
the
meant
places
is
are setting us up.
There's a few other things I'll
using
just
the
mention as
trade
well that are
side is
adjacent
kind
or,
of
that
a
got
little bit
implemented
of
as a
a
result. So like
learning curve.
when you're adding them, it will pull from your stashes. It won't. You don't have to move everything to your inventory first and then do it. So you can, because people
this
people
just
might be
seems a
wondering,
lot
okay,
more
I want to sell
like
or trade
gentle
away 5,000
way to
chaos
do
or
it.
some number of chaos that won't fit in their inventory. As long as it isn't their stash, you can do it. You can do up to 65,000 of a given currency in a single exchange, if you have that much. What else? You can.
On
There are
PlayStation, they're
shortcut
using their
binds
phones
for
to
moving
browse
all
the
of them
trade
to your
side.
inventory, so you don't have to
okay,
control
okay.
click spam 1,000 times. It is, I believe,
So
control right click will move all of them to your inventory. And also, as a bonus, we have implemented that to and from the stash with all stackables as well. So you can control right click on a thing in your inventory to move all of that type into your stash, and vice versa.
My 35-year-old hands are falling apart. Thank you.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Best change. Very good. So if this is successful, do you see it being something you expand to being able to do other things that aren't homogenous, so maps and gear and things like that?
Well, that's certainly the plan for PoE 2, and it would be nice to be able to do that in PoE 1 as well. We just have to work out how it can work exactly. So, well, I believe that we will get there, and that's certainly our intention. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's the intention. Like this part, I think though is like solving quite a large amount of the problem, because I think this is the currency is what you're doing all the time. You need that to be easy. So like we figured that we needed to get this part out there first.
Yeah, historic for the first time ever. That's been we want to do this unless something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. All right, well, we'll leave the currency exchange there. Thanks for the extra insight on that. Did you have to resist the temptation to go like full candle graphs and all that stuff?
I'm sure at some point.
To.
I'm sure at some point this will start to happen. We'll have like community like websites of like all the technical
plugins.
Indicators and like all that sort of stuff.
Mad Money YouTube channel. Yeah.
It is worth noting also on the currency exchange, I will be posting a video on Monday just for anyone who's unclear, or Monday or Tuesday, New Zealand, for anyone who's unclear on how it works. It's a little bit of a like currency market for dummies kind of thing. It's just goes over the basics and hopefully, it's room for either feedback on UX if they see anything that wants to change, or of course just better understanding of how to use it. It is very easy for someone to get very scared looking at it and go, I don't quite know what to do. But it is pretty straightforward. You just, it can be easy to fare yourself out of buying or selling stuff because you may be like, I don't know what the best ratio is, and it provides all that stuff for you. It's pretty straightforward, but still. So hence putting out a video to try and help people out, in terms of understanding when they're going into it and
As long as I don't
I'm
make another
definitely signing
90
up for a
divine
trading tips
fuck up,
newsletter.
I'm all good.
Can't wait.
My trading tips currently is like spam everyone and get really angry. So hopefully it's no longer that afterwards.
That's all of our strategy currently. Excellent. So returning to Settlers of Kalguur, how did this very cozy concept for the Settlers come about of this town building thing?
Well, I know what you pitched me on first was PoE League. That was the first pitch I got.
I remember your initial response. I think was, "Hold on, that could mean many things. Does that mean we have guns?" And I was like, "Well, maybe."
Like Pokemon things.
You know.
So it kind of like it moved around a little bit from the initial pitch. I know, like, 'cause I mean, the first pitch was definitely too complicated with all sorts of like, it had like way more stages of different products and all sorts of stuff going on. Like it was pretty crazy, and so it kind of got put into a more sort of like PoE applicable like way. But that was the initial one at least. But I don't know if you've got a
it was coming from again the philosophy of wanting to solve problems. So I wrote down all the problems. And I was like, how can we solve all these problems? And it was like, well, if you had an NPC for each, and then it's like an NPC, well, that would mean a town for each. And then you want to make some game mechanic out of it, so you have some level of automation and stuff like that. And yes, there was a very, very, very long list at the start. And we ended up just refining it down to like, here are the actual important things that we can do and want to do. But yeah, and then obviously how the rest of it came about, the coziness and using Kalguur and all of that stuff, ultimately just comes from the fact that it's like, well, one thing that takes a long time in development, like very long time, is art. Right? It takes a long
I'm
time.
looking forward to seeing what the whole shipping
all
part,
the way through to the actual modeling and
how it's going to work out.
It is a long process. So all of a sudden, when you can be like, well, we've got all this art from this other game here.
Andy.
Yeah. So we actually thought it would be pretty cool, basically, because in Act 4 and PoE 2, we've got this whole thing of like the Kalguur making a settlement on Rayclast. We thought it would be just cool to sort of tell that story of how that happened here, and we've got some of the stuff like it would be quite nice to do that. That's kind of ended up how that being. But the theme that we got there came after the initial concept of we want to make some kind of settlement town thing, and we're like, okay, what can we do with that? And then we realized, hey, like we've already got this sort of storyline we've got going on here in PoE 2, might as well connect it up and kind of have like an interesting thing there.
It definitely feels like increasing the scope of the world a little bit, because this is a distant civilization.
The coolest thing about this whole thing is that the city we are building is going to be in PoE 2. I cannot. This is just so brilliantly thought out.
Expansion there.
For sure. I mean, they always sort of technically existed. Like there was lore written for that when we did the previous expansion with them, Expedition. But like in PoE 2 we kind of expanded on that because we had that location and everything, and so we that just meant that we've got the stuff, and I think it adds a little bit to the flavor to have to do that sort of stuff.
But yeah, it is very, very rare for us to go to talk about or go outside of Rayclast ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's presumably a whole world out there, but we've not really heard too much about it. Right?
Well, it's not just like here's a planet of water with this like tiny little island, right? Like
the Star Wars planets.
What the hell?
Pringles, a taste you can't let go.
Pringles? No. The coolest thing is the real-time progress. That is pretty sick as well.
McCafé, den nemmeste vej til god barista-kaffe.
I really like that they had they thought this out in a way where they were
just land everywhere. Damn, that was a good. I could
creating something in PoE 1 that would.
Aside from this little bit of water, there's just land. The rest of it,
kinda.
I've already dropped the ball on that one. There's a few boats.
Ensnare you into the lure of PoE 2. That's just brilliant.
Yeah.
So this idea of
really good thinking.
This is very much like a meta progression league,
doing
right?
Something like that. Or a whole league
concept, the idea of like a league having its own sort of progression outside of your personal character progression. But this is definitely the main flavor here.
That's my favorite thing in WoW.
You specifically wanted to give players like a greater context for their things that they're doing. So they're doing their atlas, but they're getting golden resources and progressing this whole other thing.
I mean, for sure. But I will mention that, like, I guess it wasn't
nice.
on a lot.
I like that too. I really do like
but
that too.
Like the resource gathering thing, like those encounters are encounters that you're going to be encountering through the world, and they have their own mechanics and stuff, which obviously Mark can talk more about. So like that is definitely like content there as well. It's just that like it's kind of not as easy to show. Like we kind of needed to show about all this sort of town stuff. But those encounters will hopefully be very enjoyable as well. And that's kind of like I suppose you could call that the meat and potatoes in some sense of the league, because that's what you'll be doing. Every area you're going to find these things and have to do those encounters. So.
Yeah, so what's that content like in maps then?
Yeah, so you got one in every area. Well, aside from something like Tidal Island and some of that stuff, you got one in every area minimum, so it's 1 to 2. And there are 5 different outcomes, kind of 6, but we'll go over the 5. So you can find different minerals. So the first is Crimson Iron. Crimson Iron is like iron that's overrun with like corruption. So you have these 3, 2 to 5, as it goes up as you go through the game, of these kind of growth spawners, and they're spawning demons or monsters. And then as you kill each growth, the other growths heal, like surge, spawn more monsters, and they accelerate. So they get slightly harder over time. So it's just a full monster encounter. Upon completing it, you get the ore. You've got Orichalcum, which is like guarded by these also demons, or demons were worshipping it. And you notice it had like a shrine icon. So after you kill all the demons, you get the shrine buff, which is, without immediately it sounding underwhelming, the old... you had the old like shock, where you got the Shock Nova and Firestorm shrines, except like done actual damage. So like all of a sudden you've got meteors and lightning storms raining down around you, and they are actually designed to kind of destroy monsters. So you get just this spike of power where you can kind of just run through and let them just obliterate everything. The third is Petrified Amber, which is looks like a little kind of like a tree thing, and clicking it, and all of a sudden heaps of blight-esque monsters kind of come out of the ground and try and attack it. And it's almost like the old Aurion missions from way back, where you just have to protect this tree from the blighted monsters. It's not very difficult. Like, none of these are pitched to be very, very difficult, but they are going up in difficulty in the order that I am explaining them. The fourth is Bismuth, which I suspect will be people's favorite. The way this works is it's guarded by magic and rare monsters. I think 3 packs. I think 1 is rare. Well, maybe early game not rare, but late game it's like 1 is rare, 2 are magic. And they have an extra elemental modifier on them. Like the rare magic mods, they just got an extra one that's elemental aligned. And when you obviously kill them, there's some free 3 packs of monsters. No one's going to complain about that. You click the Bismuth, it releases the elements into the rest of the area, which will apply elemental modifiers to all magic and rare packs in the area. League monsters have a lower chance of getting them, so it's not too out of control. And that does come with the difficulty, but it also comes with the increased item quantity and rarity that
a bit Wildwood
the mods come with.
It?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Obviously, it doesn't spawn frequently enough, so I don't expect people to do the whole, run around the whole area killing nothing before clicking it.
Yeah, nice.
You'd be wasting all of your time. However, of course, I can imagine it is the Magic Finder's dream, even though Magic Finding is nerfed, but whatever, that's a different thing. It is the current, whatever is to be Magic Finder's dream.
Magic Find's buff because it's better now, because you don't have to wear crappy gear.
Well, sure. Well, yeah, sure. Whatever state it's in, or however you feel about it, it is the dream for that person, because obviously you can find even... I believe you can find 2 of them in an area, and all of a sudden you're doubling up on that. I will obviously double check that, but that was definitely the intention. And then, you're getting like these kind of elemental tornadoes spawn throughout the level. Obviously, they don't spawn when all the monsters are dead, so you're not just like losing and getting killed by a random tornado. And then the 5th encounter is Verisium, which is the thing that the Kalgurans love so much. And that very much is... it's like the encounter from Crucible, where it's just like... interact with this rock, and it like builds up the amount of Verisium and like spawns all the monsters around it, and then you fight them and kill them, and you get the Verisium at the end, and the monsters, you can see them kind of merging and upgrading over time. And so it's a little bit of a pick your own difficulty. Obviously it doesn't have the whole, I talk about Crucible, it doesn't have the whole weapon tree ruckus going on and having to put an item in there and all that. It's just here's your encounter. And then of course there is one boss as well, so occasionally you find a kind of hollow in the ground.
One boss.
Yep.
Okay.
It's in-game, very much in-game. Quite difficult, and he is guarding a lot of Verisium, and also, again, can drop a unique, and I'm pretty sure all those bosses drop a pretty substantial amount of gold as well.
So you've kind of got like 5 micro league mechanics kind of just there also, like on top of all that stuff. But as I said, it wasn't really covered like that extensively in the video. So I guess that was something that people, like that's your kind of like main combat stuff that you're kind of doing, that you know, that's in area.
And you've got the bosses like attacking your town and boats
there's a couple
and
of things
too.
like that. So yeah, there's kind of other things. So there's actually a lot going on with that, that more so than what was kind of explained.
But all that to say, there's a lot of words to say that it seems like a classic fight monster in circle.
For sure.
Fight monster in circle.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, it's 2, 3, 5. So yeah, 4 encounters fight monsters in circle, and 1 is fight monsters in whole area.
Perfect. Yeah, those are everybody's favorite. So even if you're not that into the meta progression side of things, it's still a fight monster in circle league.
Yes, of course.
Good. It all comes back to that.
It is expected, and again, you can. There's no real harm in like just doing that for as long as you want, accumulating as much gold as you want, and then if you want to engage with the town later or something, that's always something you can do. End of the day, the gold is going to be your primary restriction, so being able to just farm for ages and get a whole bunch of gold isn't going to and while not necessarily engaging with the town, is not going to set you back that far.
Yes, this is very much a take it at your own leisure.
100%, yes.
That touches on the next question, and the one that when I watched it, I was like, this is the thing that I might be most concerned about, is the somewhat controversial area of game design, timers, right? So we worried that this would give people ick because they just have that around timers.
I can see what you mean, and like that was honestly when I was talking to Mark about like, you know, what's the thing that's going to be the controversial thing about the league. That was certainly up there. One thing that we're wanting to make sure that's really clear though is that you can stack a lot of work like on like in your town that can be done in a queue without you having to come back. So it's not like you have to come back every freaking hour to like check on anything, right? Like you can queue days of work and like if you're
that's
doing, like,
awesome.
map runners, for example, like, you know, you've got your big queue there that you can do, and then like you can just come back and then they've done all the maps, you get all the loot from all of them.
So you can just log in when you normally log in.
It also doesn't mean it's so long. Like there's these sweet spots in time that we've really aimed for, right? Anything too short, highly annoying. And then anything too long feels like a mobile game. Right? So we have this kind of sweet spots for a lot of them where it's like for example, you have your queue of maps, but I think, I will note, like I'm going to say some times, but it is like highly variable, and you have the agency based on how much gold you have, the skilled workers you have. You can get these things pretty damn quick. You can, but you can also have them take a bit longer. And it's not necessarily the right or wrong answer to go either way.
To do it.
So if you want faster turnaround on your rewards, you do have some agency on that. It'll just cost more gold to do so. And if you want to have like a slower turnaround, like and focus your gold somewhere else, that is entirely up to you if you want to do that. So it's got a lot of agency. However, like we have been experimenting with numbers like a lot. It has been discussed constantly. And for example, with the shipping, you had the port of Kalguur. That's the one that has the longest distance, or the 1,500 kilometers. That does take the longest. And I currently believe it's like, you know, towards even 10 hours. But there are ones that are going to take less than 1 hour. And now there are advantages, like a longer shipment will yield better rewards and have higher risk and different rewards. Each port has different unique rewards, and a closer one, but it's not like such a differential that you're always going to do. Well, it's hard for me to predict exactly what players will think that is the best answer, but it shouldn't be the case that you're always doing the thing that takes you feel like you have to do the thing that takes like 10 hours. So there's lots of quick things, lots of long things, and it's kind of up to you how you want to engage with that. And I think that's honestly what mostly differentiates a lot of this.
The fact that it counts even though you're not online is brilliant. You can set up
play the game.
a 12-hour
it's
one,
just some AFK town,
a 10-hour one before you go to bed, and you get up the next day, you can check out.
There's heaps of stuff there, but we have aimed for that exact sweet spot such that if you are playing,
I like that.
You know, it's not highly annoying, and also not like I never get my rewards. Like it's going to be pretty bad if you're like, I'm level let's say you're in Act 1 and you unlock your shipping and you send your shipping and you're like, okay, I'm not going to get that back till I'm level 80.
The ritual problem.
That's just terrible, right? So yes, there are very quick turnarounds as well. For things like that, and then there are longer turnarounds when you're willing to spend that time to do so. And noting there are 3 ships, you could send one to a far port and then one to a close port, so you can get some ships turning around with high frequency and another turning around with a longer frequency. And the same with the mapping. It's entirely based on the difficulty of the maps, and again how skilled your runners are. So if you want to have higher turnarounds as well, you can put in either easier maps, lower tier maps, or you can put in more difficult maps. Now, I did note in the live stream the timer on the mining was before we had done any iteration, so I'm pretty sure it had some real absurd amount of time to mine that ore. That was just a straight mistake. It does not take that long. It is much quicker.
It's also worth mentioning with the stuff is that, like as I was saying with the queues, like, okay, you can just put as many,
They also
like,
said
when
they
you
would patch
find
the
resources
timer
and there's that sort
based
of
on
mining
player
queue,
feed.
it's not like you have to, like,
That
manually
they,
reassign your
I
things
feel
every
like
time.
they
They
did
just
that.
move on to the next task.
That's
So effectively
their
what that means
mentality
is that,
is
you're
if
not having to come back
player
every, like,
feedback
you know,
if something is
refresh
not
them.
right,
You just play.
they
and
do
then, the only
what's
stuff you have to come back,
necessary to the
anything
game
where you'd have to come back
to
and
make
reset
it
them, like, for
right.
example, with the mapping, the
And
queue is long enough that you can just
that's
like
one of the
jam a bunch of stuff in there, and then,
major
like, what I don't
differences
want is you to
between
feel like you have to, like, wake up in the middle of the night and, like,
grinding
fucking,
gear games
you know,
and
put more stuff in
Yeah.
there and then come back. That's
and
what I want to
Blizzard.
avoid. Like, it should
They-
be that
they
you're still
do
coming
listen
back at
to
the
their
normal time that
players.
you would play.
Maybe not 100% of the
like,
time,
that
but
is
they
our
do
design
listen a
intent,
lot,
and so if
and they
that's
do
not,
provide
like,
a lot of the
we need to
stuff
make
that
sure that
are
we're
just
balancing it correctly so that that's the case. You know, that you don't feel pressure to,
wanted,
like, log in at some
I feel
time you
like.
wouldn't normally do it.
Yeah, this sort of thing can be fun because it's like you get to come back to rewards and
Yeah, yeah.
and progress, and everybody loves progress and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
progression, right?
For sure.
We're addicts for that stuff. That's why we play this genre. But I was definitely concerned about that idea that would have to, you know, I feel like if I didn't get on in half an hour after I was planning on logging off, I wouldn't be able to reallocate my workers.
Right.
But you don't have. It just does all.
Yeah, it just
all
does
that.
it.
Well, yeah, we're not making a mobile game here. I know that's the
and you can't pay to skip
association.
any of these timers.
Of course not. And I'm not going to also at one point. I know. Look, these things are always going to be divisive. They're not necessarily going to be globally loved. And part of it is just you're going to have to try it to understand. The concept of a timer is scary to start with. But I'm also, on the other hand, not going to sit here about complaining about the cold currency thing and then also implement something that, on the other hand, I'm going to have equal levels of frustration with myself as a player. Surprisingly, but you
want to play this after all, don't you?
100. Of course, I want to play it. I'm never going to make a game I don't want to play. So yeah, my hope is, but of course that assumes we get
They
it
understand
right.
they
The
need
good
to
thing is we're
keep
very,
their
very
player base
fast to
happy
react to this
and
stuff. So
involved.
if the timers are tilted one way or
Exactly,
another,
and
we
they
have
also
so many levers we can
understand
adjust
that
to rebalance. It is, of course, we get our internal
if
feedback.
you want
we
a
get our alpha
successful
feedback
game,
on
you
the
gotta
times, but that's still a
appease
very
the
small
hardcore
subset compared
player
to
base
everyone.
to
so I could
basically
expect, if
keep the
things
game
aren't right,
active.
if
That
they're
will,
off,
in
if something's
terms,
too taking too long or
accumulate
too
new
short, or there's not
players
enough
because
agency,
people will talk about it and
we're
it'll
very, very
become
quick to be
something that
flexible
is.
to that stuff and react to it if we have to.
There's like a community created
it's interesting
around it,
and it's new.
and
it
stays relevant for way
but I'd
longer
say
that
more
way.
on the definitely on the side of excited
But
over worried.
Good.
But
They
there's always a little bit of
they-
worry there. Comes with the job, and
I like that you guys are still trying.
They skinned
new
the tiger
things,
on this one,
whether they work
for
out or
sure.
not.
They did a
100%,
great
a large
fucking
part of what we always try
job,
to do is push
man,
the
and
boundary, right? Like
this
just
just
doing
goes
the
to
safe
show
thing
how
over and
much
over and over
effort they
again
put in
can make things
in
feel quite
comparison
stale.
to Blizzard, right? Like
We
how
definitely
much
want to
of a difference.
take risks and see where they go and see how they evolve.
I'd rather they
because
take risks
ultimately
and
I
do
believe
something
that makes the
crazy
best
than
game
they
possible,
don't.
for sure.
Keep trying it. One more quick nuance about that is the progress on timers and things. That's all even online versus offline.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether you're you don't have to stay logged in, stay online to speed things up.
No.
Good stuff.
The only things that can happen that disrupt it, which is obviously if your map, if your ship gets commandeered, it can get commandeered offline or online, right? So it can stop it. It isn't something that happens ultra frequently, and you can avoid it. You can get it to the point where commandeering will not occur, and the same with your Atlas runners being kidnapped. That can occur online or offline, but again, it is avoidable. It doesn't have to happen. If you can get good enough people and run slightly easier content, and all of a sudden there's no risk of your Atlas runners failing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
speaking of risk, so how does this scale
like
with
it.
map tiers and map?
There's not been a
effects?
single
as
thing,
you move up
right,
through maps, do you
that
get
I
more
thought,
resources,
okay,
more
this is
gold?
terrible. They
Does
made
it scale with,
this is not
map
how I would do
quantity?
it
So
if I had a choice.
Yep,
This
gold,
has
so
all
gold
been
scales with everything that drops would scale
extremely
with.
thought out.
In party, I get my gold, you get your gold. We cannot share gold. Obviously, there's no point in having it. If you can't trade it, then all of a sudden, items do not sell for gold, so it's not like you can trade items to bypass that. But everything, item map quantity scales gold. Yep, all the same. It's auto pickup, obviously. with obviously the new enhanced item pickup radius, and the amount of ore also should scale with quantity. Yes, obviously, much like sulfite, I guess, from Delve. That's probably one of the closest comparisons in terms of like giving you a resource.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seemed like mostly gold was used to upgrade the buildings and things like that in your town. And
That's another great thing about it. They're
so the
using
resources are all for this shipping.
Mechanics that they have already invented, combining them in new ways and making it into new
currency thing.
content.
It looked a bit
which
crazy.
is really, really creative.
Is that for
Because
real?
you create a
Like,
system that works really well.
Getting 3 pages
You can
of chaos
reuse that
orbs
same
and divines and
system
stuff.
on other
Well, that's that
pieces
agency I'm
of
talking about as
content.
well, where a long trip should
And make
yield a
it
lot of
seem
loot. Now we have
like
made
two
some changes
different
since
things.
then, where
That's
what
amazing.
we're doing is, instead of because we were scaling rewards on quite a quantitative axis, and we've moved a lot of that into more qualitative, so that like instead of getting so much more currency linearly, you're getting better currency instead of more, just so it's less of that.
Alts roll
But,
up
like,
into chaos and whatnot.
Yeah, if you save up, like you can just be like, I'm just gonna play, get all the gold and acquire as many resources as I can, and send a shipment that's like maxed out in value, and then put the best possible ship workers on there, because you don't want to lose that shipment. I'll tell you that, and send it to the farthest thing. Like, you'll get back a ton of loot, but of course you have to. You're now getting 1 week of loot all in one go. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
you will get an absolute ton, which some people will find ultra satisfying.
Yeah.
But yes, we are trying to not. Obviously, it shouldn't be that you're just getting 50 pages of items, but you'll get some amount, and ideally the quality of the items get better as you send more, as opposed to just the quantity. Yeah.
I saw a question in chat as well. The wages, like, how does that work with when's that getting paid? Like, do you get overdrafted account fees? Like, what are we dealing with here?
So you have to take your so you've got your personal gold, and then there's a treasury, and you want to put the gold in the treasury, and the wages only take from the treasury. And the reason for that is so that you're not like just randomly losing your gold, that you're like, okay, I'm going to get to 60,000 so I can buy these items. All of a sudden it's just like draining it, and you like can't figure out. So your wages are paid from the treasury. You can do this via Johan or via the village map. There's just you hit add, drag, set an amount, hit add, it goes there. And yeah, they are just continuously drained from that. So it's not like it doesn't really come in chunks. It's like continuously going.
And do they unionize if you don't put enough money in there, or?
Not in Ray class to know.
No worker protection in Ray class.
All of a sudden you might find you're collaborating with those pirates and with those bandits, and arranging. You're arranging them to come in and kidnap people more often, and you had that abandon option we saw, because those workers were
nice.
They were making trouble.
No, they don't.
They were complaining about shipping. Oh no!
We're all achieving the same goal, I guess, on the same team, but they just want their money. That's fine.
Yes, the children yearn for the mines. So I cracked up when I saw the map running teams auto simulating map thing.
Yeah.
So do they actually simulate running the map? Do they like actually run the map for you and get the things out of it you would get out of it?
We've tried very hard to make it feel like the case. However, of course, you don't simulate actually every single monster dying. It's too much expensive, right?
Extrapolated
but
simulation.
you effectively take here's what you'd have, and then you have, I mean, here's the question: do you trust the workers to pick up the right items? Because what if it's like you like get back your items and you're like, damn it, I know you left a mage blood on the ground. I just know you did. But yeah, anyway, you're not going to think about that, obviously. I mean, you can if you want, but yes, you do get it back. So if you send them to, I can't remember which maps. We've shuffled all the div cards around, so I'm not sure which maps drop what.
Now
But
we can too.
Whatever one drops Mage Blood, if you put that base type in, the Mage Blood card, you will get that card out. That is the way to get that. Of course, generally people like running that themselves. So. And
you're telling me that if it's a Hydra map, they'll bring a Hydra fragment back for you?
Yep. If you put in a Hydra map and they clear it successfully, it's worth noting they have a percentage amount of clear. And you can get that as high as you possibly can, but sometimes they get through 50% of it and die because you put the map in as too hard.
Yeah,
You'll get 50%
are they burning
of the
6
items.
portals halfway through a Hydra map?
Yeah. Some of if if you're not sending elite people, they're kind of bad.
There's different quality of map runners, just as there is in Path of Exile players.
I mean, if you're sending your miners into the mapping, they don't know what to do. They're just like, I've tried mining the monsters and I failed
on the first pack.
But yeah,
any suggestions on what you guys think I should
with 5
be
delirium orbs, they'll probably all die. But if they don't, they'll bring you back some splinters and some
melee or range
so
builds
like
or
the most sketch, like juiced up map that they can run here if you get the best of the best.
I mean, the same as the player, right? A fully a prop
maybe
corrupted
some kind of
T17
stagger
with whatever else is bloody on it. I mean, or 16. Right. I mean, they'll probably they might get. Sometimes you actually. Like it's not mistake proof. You can put it in, and it can be like they have a 1% chance of 1% of the map.
I don't like the one that Zoro was playing that one time
that
like threw out the electricity.
Like, oh, they just died.
Portal's gone in 2 seconds.
They just died to the first monster.
Damn, that's almost as bad as me.
So yeah,
you're gonna go melee.
Don't want to do that.
Right, I was thinking the same thing. I really want to do
that. Now they don't. In that case, they don't actually permanently die. That
the
can
Warden
happen,
or Gladiator,
and you actually can lose the worker.
Oh, wow.
There is a sync on that, so you are constantly trying to find more, but it doesn't happen that often. Excellent. And again, it is mostly avoidable by playing a little bit more safe instead of just sending them to their demise all the time.
They die like I did last time, lightning arrow, and then switching it into Warden later.
We can focus on bossing,
or
like
just straight up starting out
like
a different side.
Fields. Crazy. How did you resist the temptation to go
Ward Chief? Is that the same as Gladiator?
Gear them, and make parties, and change their loot filters.
Like early on, there was all sorts of there was all sorts of stuff like that we were talking about. Like
what was it called?
It was
the
like
Righteous Fire
full mercenary system
that
with all sorts of stuff for a while.
Also
but it was too much and it was too complicated. So we decided not to in the end. But like the whole auto running maps thing was certainly something we were very keen on very early in the league.
What did I call it? I called it something completely.
This is actually the downscoped version.
That did sense.
We certainly had
Gladiators
duelist
concept,
and it was like you can send your mercenaries either on the ships or to the maps, and you can gear them up, and you can give them skills, and they have specializations. It's like
it was just too much though. Like it was too much management, too much not good.
So
different, so much going on.
Different league's problem now.
But yeah, that does kind of sound like another league that I want though. I'm not gonna lie.
What did I call it? War Chief. That's what I called it. War Chief.
Exile team manager, kind of like a sports.
Chieftain's Mandauer. That's right.
Awesome.
A Marauder.
Maybe
Marauder. That's what it's called.
All right. So yeah, that features list, like that video just kept going. Like you guys also showed rune smithing, which is like a new take on bench crafting, but as enchantments. These rune words, are they all known recipes, or is there some like discovery process there?
So you start with a few available. So there are different runes, different names. So there's like a sun rune, life rune, power rune. There's all these different names. And
I just thought about something real quick. Can I go like that? No? Oh, okay. Bone Shadow Slayer or Bone Shadow Juggernaut. Maybe click show. It Archive. Oh, right. Oh, there we go. Okay. It does kind of suck. I'm not gonna lie. There's nothing here. What the fuck? I just go to PoE Ninja and see what people are playing. Right, that's actually a good call out. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. It's like all range builds. That's why. But this doesn't take into account that they have buffed all the skills. So that's probably why. Sorry, that fucking fault again. Clicking that stupid button. People are meta slaves. Right, that is kind of true. Corrupting Fever was your build? Well, that seems fairly simple to make. Not bad at all. That seems kind of nice. That has AoE and everything. Holy shit. Hmm. Yeah, this does kind of suck. There's not a lot of like fucking things. Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Hell yeah. That was mad cool though. That the one that threw out the lightning things. Holy shit. It was kind of laggy though, but it was cool as fuck. I don't know what to play, man. I'm so like I don't know.
You start, I believe, you start with all the ones that require only sun runes, and then once you get a life rune, you can take it to Danig, and he's like, "Oh, now I can learn all of the things that require life rune."
Oh,
and then
he's
so
doing
on.
the hard work.
So yeah, I mean,
Nice.
the Kalgurans are the ones who know how to do it. You're just bringing them the resources for it. So you eventually work your way up to the very most powerful ones, and you get things like what you saw there. There was the Fire Mjolnir, which you can put on one hand or two hand axe. What we've done is with a lot of the basic outcomes, you can apply that to any weapon, but with a lot of the very specialized ones, you can only apply it to one type of class. So the idea there isn't that like every build is just now doing the Doomfletch Prism on any weapon, the one that we saw on the live stream. It's like, no, that specifically goes on two-handed maces.
All right.
And then I think the Fire Mjolnir one that was there goes on, I think it's one-handed axes. And each thing goes on specifically one weapon, and it allows you to do is we've taken like an interesting bow unique mechanic, and now you can put it on like some dagger or something like that.
New builds, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they get pretty powerful as far as like, I think there's one that is like 100 you can 100% reduce duration of like soul gain prevention for socketed gems on daggers, and like there's reckon every 20 seconds or something you get haunted by a different torment spirit, and I think there's like a rotating shrine buff one, so it's like every X seconds you're getting a new shrine buff on you, and not a lesser shrine, by the way, and sometimes including divine shrine as well, so you can just be like, I'm just going to sit here until I'm immortal, and then I'll do the boss.
17 mapping strategy.
But those all require the highest tier rune, which we expect to be very, very expensive.
So are these something that you can trade, the runes, between players?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. Yes, they all come, primarily all come from shipping, which you can do pretty early in the game, but I suspect late game. And then they are considered a like additional bonus from shipping, where it's like, if you trade to the Kalgurans, they'll send you that back, and the more you send them, the more runes they'll send you, because they're like, thanks for doing business with us.
Yeah, do you know what they're sending you back when you send them a shipment, or is it kind of just like...
No, we've intentionally been quite vague with that, just so people can figure it out. Now, it isn't... There's some determinism, and then some that's just influenced. So
I think I'm going to
play
something
crops are giving you back currency,
a bit familiar with
at
the very beginning of the
figure
league.
that out and experiment and make up their
And
mind
then
as to
make
what
a
they think is the
secondary
best
character
combinations
that's
to
like
send.
going to be the banger.
Certain resources are going to give certain rewards back.
Because I feel like getting everything leveled
there are
up
bonuses
and
on the port, so
kind
like
of getting settled
I think in the numbers
a
there
little
it's
bit
set 100. So
before
at any given time, it's like they'll pay
going on an
double for
adventure and
wheat,
doing
or
something
I'll pay-
completely
and then
different.
once you fill that order,
might be a good choice, and that
so
gives
after
me a
you've
chance
sent
to look at
10,000
the
weeks, they might
PoE
be like,
Ninja
alright,
to
now
see
we're going
what
to pay
people is playing
triple
as
for the
well.
next 500 Verisium you send us, and stuff like that. So you are changing your shipments to different ports based on those bonuses. And then, like, for example, the item for disenchanting, just a random slight pivot here, but the item you get from disenchanting, the Thaumaturgic Dust, that is a multiplier on your shipment value. So whatever you send, you then send dust. So if you send some amount of dust, it'll just double your shipment value. And so that one, so it's almost like a meta reward mechanic in that regard.
And that's from grinding up your gear in the gear grinder thing. That's
from
also another feature that was
right. That's what I was thinking tonight.
And
just
you
so
get
I
a
get
lot more dust
through the campaign
so
fast.
Just to add
in
some
the
value
beginning.
to some 1 Chaos T0 uniques, disenchant them because they will give you the most. They will give you the most.
So
I have a
is
feeling
the
that
key
even
there,
though they
so-
buff the melee
generally
builds,
it's
they
like
do
better
take
items give you more. So
a
6
certain
mobs,
set
higher
of
10 modifiers, and then
like a
rarity,
certain amount of
higher-
gear to be
You guys
good.
like adding
uniques
sneaky
and
new
whatnot.
item sinks, don't you? I like that, yeah. Trying to get those 1C items to 2C.
I mean, it just it turns garbage items into good items is the idea, or into
into
more
dust.
tickets at good items. Well, yeah, but the point being, the dust is the ticket at better items. You know, yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. So another thing, recombination returns from Sentinel. It was mentioned that it's not going to be as strong as it was. It was obviously one of the strongest crafting mechanics we had outside of maybe Necropolis and that. In what ways is it weaker now?
There's two things that have mostly changed about it. One is, and not that I can even specifically remember
They made
exactly
the
how
melee
it all
weapons
works,
more
but there was all
stronger
this
too?
like
Holy
chance
shit.
to mutate
But
stuff that
I
was
still
going
think
on
that
with
it takes
that's
like
all gone.
a
It just
some decent
combines the
gear
items and
straightforward
to have like a
together.
proper
So is there, like,
melee.
unique
It just
extra mechanic, like
I don't know.
modifiers that can randomly appear. Is that gone?
No, those are gone.
All right.
And so it is just merged two items together. The other thing that I like about doing it this way, as opposed to having it gated behind a currency item, is that you can actually engage with it earlier in the game. Now, I know that's going to be pretty unorthodox for most existing players, but it's still something you can choose to now engage with because the gold cost is based on the item level of the item input, and so you can have it be very, very cheap early and more expensive later. And so it just opens it up to more players instead of just being this thing that you're only ever going to use on the best of the best of the best.
Fun, yeah. Yeah, that's good. I like that scalability that you can use it early.
Cool. Or even like early maps, you know, it's not going to feel super punishing, and like you can do things like that if you want to, of course.
Well, it's a good mechanic for that, but something that wasn't really accessible.
Yes, correct. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, and I know Sentinel
So
was
900
added.
PDS.
They don't drop recombinators now because it's done through this mean. So despite Sentinel being
just
there,
thing that you can randomly find in extra in maps to get more loot.
Oh
more
shit, that's a mad buff.
gameplay.
Holy
Yeah, and you've
shit.
done a bit of that too. So in addition to the new campaign stuff, making the campaign more interesting just with this random little encounters, you've got more stuff just appearing in maps as well. So Wildwood and Sentinel as well.
Yep, why not?
Yeah, why not, eh?
More juice.
Love it.
It's fun. I like the idea of just the random encounters. Like, they're not on the Atlas tree right now. That doesn't mean they never will be. But I like the fact that there's a handful of things that are just randomly spawning, and so you're doing your rotation, and that throws a little bit of a spanner in the works, and it only
They're
in a
more
positive
dependent
element,
on the
right? It's not
weapon.
like it
Well,
takes anything
especially for
away.
things like that that are
Like
effectively
life
just
flask
this
and
will give you more
store.
loot and currency and stuff. So like Wildwood and Sentinel, they're just about
It's like life
give you a
flasks
big
in the
boost to
story.
magic
If
find.
you
So you might not
use
necessarily want
one
those to be something that players can have active all of the time.
X
But
ago,
rather as like a cool
and
bonus
you-
that randomly
right,
appears
right,
to make the
right.
map spicy.
That is the other benefit because it is random and
Yeah.
not something that you can just have guaranteed.
It's not
they
warping
can
your play.
they can be
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah.
They can be more
Oh, yeah, true.
impactful as a result.
So
Yeah.
the more you got
Otherwise,
a
they
bunch
have to
of
match the
skill
exact
slots
power of every
for
other
free.
league on
And
thing you
totems
can
are
invest
gone.
into
Right,
onto the
that's
Atlas
true.
tree.
I didn't even think
So
about
there was the
that.
mention of those
That is
like
true.
3 bosses
Totems are
that can
gone.
disrupt your shipping and all that sort of stuff. When they take something hostage, is just talking about like this gameplay. What is that gameplay like? Are you going into like random fights?
I have
or
a
is it
feeling
always
there's
boss
going to
fight
be
you're
a
going into
couple
and
of people coming up
It's
with some
always a boss
crazy ass
fight.
new builds.
Your Atlas runners will always be taken by the Bandit Lord.
Yep.
Your shipment will always be commandeered by the Admiral, whatever his name is, I forgot. Internal name by Pirate Boss. They get named and I don't remember them all the time. And then the one you find in the world is always the same one as well. And then the you pretty much just go, it'll notify you, and then you go back to the town, to King's March, and the NPC will just be like, here's a portal, go there, kill this person, or don't. If you don't want to. Like if you feel like you're going to fail, you shouldn't go and do it, right? And you can bring your party members, but you can only enter it once. Like once you die, you cannot re-enter. So one shot only.
Okay, let's take a little bit of a turn now, looking backwards at Necropolis and reflecting on some of the changes that happened in it. First, the overall endgame overhaul, such as the removal of sextants and the massive scarab rework. How do you just feel about that overall, both of you first? How that went, the endgame overhaul?
Right, the new
I do think
uniques,
overall
true,
good,
true.
but it's very easy
That's
for
right,
that to
that's
get
And they
know,
reworked some,
looked
and
at
they
from a
did a bunch
perspective of a
they
few
did so
things
much
that are
shit.
bad, and then looking at it badly. Like there are certainly some things that were imperfect, and we are making some measures to change that. But
It
I do
seems
think
like they
overall the
buffed
shake-up
Blight
was
a
pretty
lot
healthy.
too, though.
And then when I talk about the bad things, I'm talking like the T17 maps being too hard, right?
Yep.
And that kind of it overshadows a lot of what's good about it because there's these few things that aren't right. And then I'm also talking like, okay, we removed Wandering Path, great, and then we added Back to Basics, which is also gone now, by the way, just to clarify, which wasn't
Okay.
mentioned there.
Sure,
Like Back to
sure.
Basics was even more unhealthy
Yep.
than Wandering Path, or equally unhealthy, depending. But both of them not good, not achieving the philosophy we want. So we didn't. Because of that, and because Back to Basics became the meta, it ended up like not even evolving that much. And so I'm hoping with this now set of changes, but all of that ultimately comes about with, because what's going to happen is when you are releasing content on this scale, and I am certainly a risk taker, I like to push the boundaries and all that, you are going to have these things happen. It is borderline impossible for us to test everything, and that's where you see a lot of the reactionary patches that we did early in the league to try and fix and improve everything.
That definitely was something that was really hard, just you know, for the team as well. And like it's also very hard just decision making about, is this something that should be fixed or is it not? Like it was pretty rough at the start there, and I think that is something we're trying to improve this time around by looking more at the extremes and like really zeroing in. So there's definitely a mandate to QA now of like, okay, we need to really work out like what is the actual maximum possible thing for this, and like, you know, like what is the difficulty of what that results in? Like, is it okay? Like, is the difficulty versus reward correct for what you know, the players can do here? This kind of thing, and it's something obviously that we should have been like thinking more about before, and like it's something, you know, that we're really making sure this time we'll try and do better. But it's tough because like even thinking about what the most extreme case can be really hard. Like so many things took us by surprise in terms of like particular combinations of things. Like there's so many just ways to combine stuff, and like from so much content from the past as well, that like it's like it's hard to find. Like the fact that
they did fuck up a little bit. There was a couple of combinations of things in the beginning that was kind of OP.
It was kind of nuts.
Yeah, you guys asked me an interesting question yesterday when I first came in. It was like, how does 150 uniques from a single boss sound to you? I'm like, that sounds crazy. What are you talking about?
So I guess we'll talk about some of the things that were happening that people weren't aware of. So there was a Reddit thread, and so I can't remember how far into the league, that was pretty much like, what the heck has happened to the prices of T0 uniques?
Yeah.
And you had like Defiance of Destiny at like 4C. It was like actual craziness. And upon looking at this, and oh no, none of this was anyone abusing or exploiting anything.
Not a bug or anything, yeah.
In fact, I think, did we tell you the value of how many unique items were dropping in some of these?
I told him.
I was going to ask you to guess, but we were getting over 100,000 unique items in some instances, and I'm not even talking in a map, in a single map, and I'm not talking a 6-man group. I'm talking solo players who are able to achieve this, and this is where a lot of those things, so for example, the Shaper Touched rarity, there were just so many layers of multipliers that if used correctly altogether, but you ended up with less than 100 people on the entire realm acquiring over 99% of all T0 uniques. And so we have gone and looked at all that and been like, okay, with this, that is highly compromising the economy and the integrity of the economy, and we fixed some of this last league, but we are doing more of it this time to make sure that your average and above average player isn't like having the economy ruined as their experience, but we're just really, really controlling that like high top end. And I'm talking like most people would never have known this was happening. They would have just been like, where are all these uniques coming from?
It's not a bug. It's just the math of
it's just
rarity
exactly.
and quantity.
There's technically legal stuff, and like there's always a question with stuff like that, because generally speaking, we have the policy of no mid-act nerfs, and yet there were certain cases, and that was really tough the last league, just because like we did do some changes to certain mechanics, which we wouldn't normally do because it was just so ridiculous. Like there was stuff going on there that just was not okay.
I saw a screenshot of like one of the monsters that would be part of this, and it was like, it had a list of modifiers that was the entire screen, right?
Right. We were talking yesterday about whether or not we need a way to collapse the display of the number of essences underneath something's life bar, and it's like, where are we at? Which, by the way, it's still there, so it's like, a thing that you can still do. But yeah, it's and I'm not talking like we're getting rid of all the uniques. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm asking you, is 150 all right? And you're like, that sounds excessive. And I'm like, well, it's like several hundred times less than what it was, but it's still top off screen, bottom off screen of unique items just everywhere. And that's just like a single monster. You get the whole rares in the area. So we want it to be extreme. Like, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't be that the entire economy is ruined by 100 people who aren't, or a few people even, who aren't even abusing anything or exploiting anything or doing anything illegitimate. Like, and the problem is, that's where we got into that state where it was like, all right, do we have to nerf X, A, B, C, and D as we kind of discovering and figuring out these strategies? And it's like, let alone the fact that this stuff absolutely rams the performance of the instances, right? Like, I don't know if people saw it when those meat sacks were dying and you'd get like 6-second lag spikes while it's generating the unique items. And so anyway, a lot of it is, it's much more controlled now. We've actually assessed exactly where all that was coming from. We've taken a lot of caution to not nerf the average above average even further than that.
A normal player should not see any change.
Yeah. I mean, and I loved how gloves off it's feeling with your ridiculous changes to the end game here. Like, it feels like you've really opened up over this past couple of leagues to
100%
change stuff pretty wildly.
Again, I go back to that. Go back to that philosophy of like, if we can do stuff to make things better, we do it. And it's just the unfortunate reality is that, and I'm ultimately the one pushing most people to do this with
right.
And
true.
The unfortunate reality is
true.
it comes with risks, and
others were kinda,
as a result, failures, of which are 100% on me, like without question. And that's why, again, like straight after the patches, it's like full hands on deck trying to make sure everything is as good as possible. And then we get into a little bit of that difficulty of thinking some people want the game to stay as it is, regardless of the state, and a lot of people want it to keep changing. And we get into this kind of like, which side of this fence do we fall on? And we have to really evaluate each change and do it. But look, ideally, the changes wouldn't be necessary. But when you're changing this much, doing patches this massive, this quickly, some of it is inevitable. I would hate to, I personally, and you could convince me, you could tell me I'm wrong about this, you might be able to convince me. I would prefer that we do everything possible with the time allocated, as opposed to like play it safe, do something, a small patch and give it there, and yeah, sure, it's safe, less will go wrong, but at the end of the day, there's way less to do, way less fun, way less changes, less to learn and evolve with, and it just feels like, I suspect at the end of the day it'll be way more boring, even though it might be more safe. Yeah. So again, it's possible that I'm gone too far one direction, and we have pulled back a little bit here on some of that safety. But like, I never want to get to the point where we're releasing something flat and stale just because it's safe. I want to always be making sure that we're doing everything to make things as fun and exciting and the best as possible for everyone, including myself when I play the game.
Well, these updates have felt way more energetic. It's, I think it's refreshing, I think, for a lot of us who've been playing for 10 years at this point.
Right.
It's pretty cool stuff. So on the tier 17 maps, they were intended to be like a gateway to Uber bosses, but they ended up being harder and more restrictive than that actual content. And we had Uber boss viable builds, really struggling with that actual content. So how are you kind of changing things with that, or are you happy with it, where that's at?
I mean, the ultimate numerical change to T17 monsters is that they have it's approximately 55% less life, so they have less than half the life they had before and 30% less damage, which seems extreme. And I will just note that was like actually not intended.
Yeah, an interesting story about that.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that two different designers did the life change to T17 without realizing the other person had already done it.
That's so funny.
So that was kind of like an unintended side effect. But it's like when you come down to, oh, so why the hell are these monsters so damn tough? And then we're like, oh crap, there's someone. There were two people who made this change independent of each other.
We have counted that on the bosses to some degree, so they are, not just like an absolute joke now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just the monsters themselves, which it did compound with back to basics and the mod scaling, like the thing. Once you have
you're
like
right, sir. That's
50%
exactly
increased area of effect on the monsters, it's kind of like, okay, this is like getting a little, on the bosses I should say, it's like this is getting a little bit out of hand. Like, how can I dodge this mechanic that is larger than the arena? You could argue they're signing themselves up for it, but then it's like you want that for the rest of the map, which then means the bosses are pretty much like impossible. Strong word to use because everything's always possible with enough, build ruckus going on. But anyway, it wasn't right. Like, these things weren't right. So hopefully with back to basics removed and the changes to T17s, implicitly it should be.
I'm glad to hear
more
that,
approachable
though,
to more players. Less you have to play like a subset of
even with the
10,
necromancer,
12
it was
builds in
nearly
order to
impossible
achieve them.
to do.
Like, it should be way more open. Obviously with all the melee builds as well, that should be a hell of a lot more viable this time. So I would expect a lot more players to be enjoying those, as opposed to because again, we're solving the item quantity thing where it's like we want to open up more builds and make you feel less like you have to play certain things. So then T17's being that hard resulted in the exact same thing. These are not intentional things. When you get to Uber Pinnacle, it's alright for the number of builds to reduce drastically, because it's like you want to be a boss killer at that point, or that's fine. But when we're just talking about the top tier of maps, it's not okay to have it be so constrained there. So just mistakes were made, honestly.
But on the lightning arrow, it was impossible.
Yeah.
Like, I could kill some of the mobs, but
main design of the modifiers on
I
these
couldn't
maps
do
is
shit
these build bricking modifiers, ones
to the
that
bosses
are just
at all.
basically not doable for certain builds or thereabouts. Why is this the method that you went with for these modifiers?
I personally just think it is important that you actually are investing in rolling your map and finding the maps that you can do, or choosing how you can overcome the modifiers. And I know that's probably not a popular opinion. I very much understand that a lot of people are just like, I can go, and that's all I want to do. But I think especially with the upper tier like that and the extra layer of rewards that they're giving, I think you should have to invest more currency into it and more thought into it, or be like, oh, this is a real good map. It's got like some specific reward modifiers you want, but there's this one bad thing I'm going to have to deal with, and then you actually do commit to dealing with it. It again, hopefully adds more ebbs and flows to the process, as opposed to it, again, just being like, out go and run, and that can be quite, where some people like that, and that's okay. You can still obviously do that with 16s. I do like these things having an impact on your build, just not to either one, it should be avoidable, or not to the extent it was before. And again, investing into them, rolling them, like it's certainly not something I want to stray away from. I actually consider it a success when you have to re-roll your maps. Again, probably a controversial take,
but needed.
But, I think it is a much better thing getting an actual. Like, it feels more like an actual game mechanic, as opposed to like, well, at the point it's just alch and go, and alchs are worth so little. Why you just drop them rare, and like, why are you even engaging with the currency on maps system?
Why have mods if the mods don't matter?
Do you take like some consideration to how many chaos, for example, you expect someone to put into a map to produce mods that are on average viable for their build that they're doing?
We do, yes. So I mean, not in the context of a build here, but like, for example, we were like, okay, if we want to make T17s able to be easier, like, should we reduce it back to 4 to 6 modifiers?
Yep.
But then you just, the argument, the reason why we never did that just this league is because, well, now it's even more chaos you have to invest to get 6 modifiers, because the right answer is probably to run 6 modifiers because it gives the best rewards. And so it's like, well, that's just going to massively increase the amount of chaos orbing someone has to do on those maps. So let's not do it that way. Let's find a different way to do it. So we're definitely considering how many you're having to. From a like hyper build specific, it's like, if I'm playing this exact specific build, how many chaos on average do I need to avoid it? No, not like hyper specific, but in terms of like broad mechanics, we do generally try and consider that.
Yeah, I imagine you'd be taking like a range of builds and saying, oh, on average, it's going to take about 10, 20 rerolls to produce a map you want to run on this character.
But my hope is that some people at least look at it and go, okay, if I just change this one thing, then I can still run it. So it's not always just like, I know this is probably the preferred strategy. In fact, I'll do it myself probably most of the time. You just avoid anything that's going to cause any friction to your character. But like, there are probably a good chunk of players who are just like, I will deal with this bit of friction by either slowing down a little bit, or changing something, or subbing something out, or it's good for those players to be able to do that, because then technically they're having to invest less currency. Whether or not it's worth the payoff, it's up to them really to decide that. But
you want the mods to matter, and I get that, and these certainly do matter, but how do you feel about it versus modifiers that do things like, say, this modifier adds these certain sorts of packs of monsters to the map that are very difficult, but also increasing the reward and making the map more interesting by making it more different, as opposed to something like, your energy shield is turned off?
The problem you have with things that are implicitly adding direct rewards beyond certain other things is obviously the issue of the fact that you now feel like you have to roll for them. And you saw like this with the Shaper
is a maze.
And with the Shaper Touch modifier earlier this league, before it was changed, all of a sudden and now all of a sudden you're spending more currency on the maps than you were avoiding the builds, because now you are not only having to get a specific rewarding outcome, you're having to dodge the build things as well. And so it was even more. And as we've removed some mods this league, like I know the barrels was one of them, where people were going for the barrels, and it's a couple we've removed a few of those, like, sink currency into this. I would actually expect the amount of chaos you're sinking into these is less this league, because we've removed those. But we have kept some, but like we've also then made them rarer, so you're like less likely. But then which I know you could say is counterintuitive to investing currency, because now you have to invest more if you have to get them. But there is a point beyond where you're now no longer expecting to get it, and thus you are just like, okay, getting it as a surprise, as opposed to when it's kind of within reach, you will just sink currency until it's there. But I actually do like the fact that, like, I liked the days back when you would roll for a lot of the maze, and then you'd exalt the maps and stuff like that. That stuff was I found that quite enjoyable.
It was kind of like the game is a bit different than how it used to be, but
for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not obviously going in that path anymore, but there's still a little bit of it there. The mods still matter. Reward mods can be bad. but it's good to also have them. There's like a little bit of friction there, which is hard to get perfectly right. And then in the same sense, I mean, some of them are probably... There are some other small balance changes around T17s, like those bloody Revenant packs were out of control. All of a sudden the corpses exploding that you can't even see. Like we did all of this like telegraphing improvements to detonate dead and then like missed Revenants.
Good stuff. Yeah.
So all of a sudden now you're just dead to this invisible corpse explosion, and like
Classic.
there's a few other fine-tuned balance around some of the T17 stuff to make it feel less terrible, and I think it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I'm hoping that it's going to feel a lot better.
Should tier 17s be one of the most profitable things to farm?
I think yes. I mean, what is the argument for no?
I've just
you know,
seen
like
discussion.
I don't
on
mean
that
from you. I just
topic
mean in general.
Yeah, like some people are, concerned about whether that's the thing that should be happening or not.
Well, should T16s before that? And you could argue, well, okay, T17s you have to trade for, and that's the real difference.
Yep.
Is that if you want to run them permanently, you have to trade for them. But generally, the economy sorts itself out there to some degree. It's just that it adds that extra layer of annoyance.
Yeah.
But then also, if T17s were self-sustaining, then it was kind of like what differentiates them from 16s at that point. It's just back to what you were doing with 16s, except they're now purple with harder modifiers, and you could argue that's better or worse, except
Sunset Boulevard præsenterer vores iskolde nyhed rød grød med fløde deluxe shake af smagen af dansk sommer.
Let's see why they did that.
Sorbet af modne hindbær med lækker jordbærpuré i samarbejde med Hansens Is. Kun hos
No sunset, man.
I really like the idea of that, when you are just generally playing and not engaging with, the trade to that level, you're doing 16s with the occasional popping into 17s here and there. I do think that is generally better, but I can see why it can be annoying for someone who's like, I have to trade for these because I don't want to run anything but them. But that kind of can always be argued to be the case for almost everything.
I mean, in some ways, T17s are are the map scarcity that the map system used to have long ago at lower levels. It's like you've got this one tier that kind of has that sort of like you're not expected to necessarily, if you're just playing without trade, to be able to just run it again and again for T17 specifically, and that's kind of also comes down to that same thing with the mods. It's like the reason you're caring about re-rolling and so on for T17s is because of the fact that you don't necessarily they're not just growing on trees. That's why you've got a bit of a different philosophy there with the mods that they have on as well.
They're gonna keep the 3 Atlas system, right?
It's going to be pretty polarizing between people as to what's right there, but it is very important to us that the ebbs and flows remain, and you don't just end up with this flat, boring grind at the very top end like that. Like, it should be evoking difficulty, and it shouldn't just feel, completely just... It gets further away from a game and more towards just a kind of AFKable / and I don't mean actually AFKable, but something where you're not really investing much emotion into and thought into, and it doesn't feel like you're playing at that point. It just feels like you're just going along with it. So I think it's very important to have the different spikes and things come and go, and to have friction and all of those things. And I think without any of that, you'd find stuff would get very boring very quickly.
Just very quickly, how do you feel about the betrayal changes, like the change to the Veiled Chaos and the simplification of it as well? It feels like now it's mostly people just kind of spamming Katarina with maybe some consideration to getting some like div card stacks or something like that, but you're not really doing as much of the engaging with the board now, I think.
Betrayal is in a very bad state, for sure. I am not happy with it. It was on the list of 325's thing. I know, despite the fact we have so much, there was more. We didn't get round to doing it. It's currently slated for 326. I'm very much hoping we can do it then. The main thing I want to divorce is... so I actually just want there to be... there is one safe house, and that... and so all 4 connect to one thing. Sorry, how do I explain this? It's like, effectively, Katarina isn't tied to the safe house. Like, you can do your safe house, and that will give you a ticket to Katarina. And so you just have one safe house that has the whole board on it, and you earn intelligence for it, and the people still have their reward association, and then doing that gives you a itemized version of Katarina you can run separately. But the main thing is you're not linking the board to Katarina's, because there's always been this friction of do I min-max my Katarina outputs, or do I, do my interesting board layout? And you're just at the point where it's like, screw all that. I just want as much mastermind intelligence as possible. So I'm not going to interact with anything on the board really, except for whatever might min-max that. And so, I want to divorce those two things so that you don't have that conflict, because we have never been able to get that balance, and I don't even know if that's possible. You're always either going to want to never run Katarina because it destroys your board state, or you'll always run Katarina because the Veiled Orb. And so I want to divorce those two things such that one doesn't destroy the other. Because it hasn't been right the whole time. So, and I think that will just be a much, much better if we do that. And then Katarina is just there as a thing you can do. You do the boss fight and you can trade for it. You can buy the tickets to it if you want. Or, and then you can do all the board interaction, separately. You'll still have I want to min-max my safe house running to get tickets to Katarina, but what we can do is have a correlation of the chance of getting it, or the number of the tickets you get to Katarina correlate to the state of the board somehow. But at least I don't ever want it to be like I'm not going to fight Katarina because I don't want to reset the board. I don't think those two frictions should ever occur. It hasn't been right, honestly, since we released it, to be honest.
All right,
so.
let's let him cook, hey? Let's let him cook. So we should talk just a little bit about Necropolis itself. I know you were pretty excited for the mechanic. I was too, because I love a good, thick crafting league. And it's certainly not very powerful, but ultimately the crafting mechanic, not that popular, I think, due to the friction of engaging with it, the corpses, managing all of that. But how do you feel about Necropolis in hindsight now?
Yeah, definitely that part is, well, we kind of knew going in that it was more on the complicated side, for sure. Some things just kind of, it's not necessarily a problem for something to be a little bit more complicated like that, but it probably went a little bit too far. That being said, it was pretty damn powerful, especially after our changes we made very early into the league. In terms of getting like full T1 modded items, probably went a little bit too far, to be honest. But yeah, that being said, understood. It was a bit too computer sciencey, I like to call it, in terms of like lots of figuring out, what to do, and kind of uncertainty to the point where it overwhelmed a lot of people. And that's where you see, I even recombinating and runesmithing coming back way more simple, straightforward. Some things are just very clean cut. Some things are a little bit more complicated, and different users appeal to both. Would I have changed it now knowing that? I mean, I would have had the balance initially go out correct at the start, but I would say there's still a place for things like for it.
The update was certainly very solid for it, making it a lot better.
Simplified a bunch of stuff down with it as well. I'd probably have gone a bit further with the simplification if I'd had to redo it with some of it. Some of those like meta mods and some of the more crazy things are a little bit,
For me though, it wasn't about so much how much complicated it was, and it was more about the just getting so many corpses. Trading for so many corpses, right?
Sure. Yes, fewer, more impactful ones would have been a lot better. Yeah, you ended up getting a lot. That's partly due to the Atlas tree passives, which was a mistake. Straight up, goodbye, they're gone.
Yeah.
If it was to redo,
experiment, done.
100% experiment. They're no longer there. Everyone saw that as an Atlas tree tax.
Yeah.
Yep, it was. You could have argued making them way weaker would have mitigated that. Whatever.
Why?
The original intention of it was like, okay, we want these keystones because it allows people to change behavior. And I think if we are to see that again, we would have that. We'd have introduced ways for people to change the behavior, but not invest into the increases and more corpses and all of that, because it felt mandatory. And it often will when you have the league in every single area. And so, yeah, that was a pretty big contributor towards this problem.
It felt like the opposite of what we were talking about with Gold, where Gold allows you to turn like user experience friction into gameplay friction. It was the opposite, where it was all user experience friction, because it was about trading with a ton of non-responding people for corpses.
Sure.
40 times per craft.
We also obviously made a lot of changes to that early as well in the league, but still it was like, I remember Ziz messaged me at one point and it's just like, oh my god, the amount of quad tabs I need to hold all these corpses, and I'm just like feeling real sad about it. It's not like, that was the intention by any means. So yeah, I didn't quite hit the mark for sure.
Just lessons learned.
Lessons learned for sure. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Better to try it and fail at it, and then learn
it was
from
definitely
it.
a very cool
Then
added layer
not
of map
try
customization,
something
but it
new,
was
man.
not
It's
optional,
just-
and that was definitely the
I
concern
still
we
feel
had
like
going into
Necropolis
it.
League
And,
was a great
it
league.
also
It
added
was
just that
freaking
extra layer
awesome.
of work that you have to do before you can start playing, which PoE has a fair bit of, and
For sure. And again, we again with the league being like, something you do have to generally engage with before doing areas. It's again that kind of X factor.
It was.
that makes a
I
league
played it to
different.
the
And
end,
makes it
man.
feel different. But at the end of the day,
Basically.
probably was a little bit too much annoyance to have to do this thing every single area. But it's certainly we like to try these things out here and there. Some people probably thoroughly enjoyed engaging with that stuff, of course. And I mean, end of the day, leagues are never going to really be for everyone. They're always going to have some amount of people who aren't really into it. But look, we tried something new. We always do like to try something new when it comes to these leagues, and a lot of people did enjoy various elements of it. Some of it doesn't hit. That's all right. Like, we don't do it again, right? Like, that's part of it. And this is a lesson learned every single league, right? There are always elements of leagues that don't work. There are elements we learn from. There are elements we don't repeat. And then we take often what we can do is take the stuff that is good, that is fun, and find a way to integrate it into the game later. And now the core game experience is overall better as a result of us, learning from all the stuff.
Yeah. Keep the experiments going. Keep it going
That
wild.
really shows
we're going to go
through
rapid
a lot
fire
of the
now, so people
things
can
that
get
are
their
already in the game.
30,000 patch notes. They're record-setting patch notes very soon here. So we had finally the much-awaited massive melee changes. What was the big thing that led to you guys pulling the trigger on this issue? Doing some melee stuff.
Ultimately, the community. People wanted it.
What was like the key change that you kind of needed, maybe to get figured out?
The one that I remember us walking through was there was kind of we made a document of like, okay, what are the things that a melee build currently mandatorily needs to know to do in order to be viable, and effectively we had all these multipliers, and if you didn't know to do them, then you just sucked.
It's bad. Yeah.
And so effectively we needed to do something about that to make it so that just hit things is like a more viable path. I think that's just really looking at that, and so that hence why you have the removal of melee totems and so on. Honestly, even I was kind of shocked that Mark was like, let's just straight up remove them. I know we talked for a little bit about like maybe there's some way to make it so that you don't, the builds that use them aren't the same as melee builds or something, but in the end it was just like, you know what, we'll go clean slate, and we'll try to make sure, let's just get rid of any of these barriers, and I think that was probably the right choice.
I just want you to hit things with your weapon, or monsters or the ground, with your weapon, and things die, and you're not having don't get me wrong. I want there to be secondary axes of skills that are often skill involved. You do have to use them. I don't just want it to be that you have 1 6-link and every single other gem slot is empty. Like, it should be that there are these other axes, but I also want you to be able to choose whether or not which ones you use, which ones you invest into the tree. Whereas a lot of what was happening before is, something is often either too powerful that you feel like you have to use it, and all of a sudden now every single build is using this exact same thing, and every single build feels so similar. Whereas really the way that should ideally work is something is much weaker initially, and you have to invest into the passive tree and stuff like that to make it good enough. But it means that different characters will have different secondary specializations, and you'll find a lot of these, like something like tinctures, something like retaliation skills, they're going to be quite polarizing. People are going to love them or hate them, and that's okay. That's good. And it means that you get these differences in builds where you are actually speccing into and using these secondary things. But the one other main thing is I really want it to be less unique item-driven mandatory things, right? I don't want uniques to suck, don't get me wrong. I just want it to be that it's like, in order to do X, Y, and Z, I must be using this, and now I'm considered viable by the game's standards,
like build checklist thing that we...
Yeah, it's gone a little bit too far. And so we're bringing a lot of these mechanics to the forefront on the passive tree, because that is one way place. And of course, by having more... considering when you've got this league, you're going to have runesmithing, you've got the obviously quality changes applies to unique, you've got the new modifiers on rare items, you've got we haven't buffed the life on every unique, we've buffed it on Kelms. That's it, right? So all uniques proportionally just got worse to rare items, quite intentionally. so that rare item, and it's not it's not just hiding behind all these things you got to learn in wiki and do all of that. So it should be that you can get further without having to have extreme specialized knowledge, especially with melee this time round. And on top of that, like bringing a lot of these hidden mechanics that were like hard to figure out way more to the foreground, so they're just more obvious and you can figure them out. And also just hit things and they die, and not feel so like, okay, I'm hitting things and they're not dying, but now I do this thing and combine this and this and this and this and this, and now things get hit and die. But that is still there, and that will allow you to go even further and even more efficiently, and thus get more items and more power, of course, right? We're not dumbing things down. The intention is just to make it that, like, if you aren't doing all of these things, you're not just absolute garbage,
Well, playing devil's advocate a little bit, the new banners, is that kind of just melee totems again?
I mean, not in this... Okay, they're not as powerful implicitly. They are... It depends on what you want to call it. You can look at the totems from a perspective of, yes, the busy work side of things, of I'm having to do this thing every so often, sure. But it's also not like, if you don't use them, it's not like you're bad, right? You can get damage from so many places. Only one of the banners is giving damage. It's giving a lot less damage. In order to make banners really good, you have to spec into a lot of them onto the tree. They are still kind of good. I do expect a lot of melee characters still to be using them. And I do like the idea that there is... skill involved as to thinking, when should I use them?
They're not an always up thing like the totems were, which is the biggest issue with them.
Unless you invest into them, in which case, so one of the passives that was shown is that banner effects linger for X seconds. They automatically pick up when you exit the radius, so you can place them down and then just sprint, and then you get the effects for seconds, and then you can place it again. And sure, it might end up being like on rotation it's being used for some builds, and on others they're being way more tactical with it, doing it during a breach and during this, but on regular monster to monster clearing they're not. Kind of want it to be... I feel like you have a lot more agency with banners, and the other thing, of course, being getting rid of, even like Berserk. We're getting rid of a lot of the extreme high power mandatory things that if you were a player who didn't know about it, all of a sudden you're not, considered viable. And the one other thing we've done there, I know we said rapid fire, but don't worry, it's part of the question.
People can wait.
We've made sure to we've got spreadsheets out the wazoo of like experience per hour testing. We've got like, time testing. We've got like our one of the people probably see him takes ages, always on the ladder, freaking winning things here and there. He has been sitting there running, literally doing races, technically with every single class, for the last 3 months, probably straight. Every single waking minute, he is playing a different character, writing down times to kill Brutus, time to kill this, time to get to this, time to do this, XP per hours everywhere, what variables make the most difference. We've taken all of that data and gone and been like, all right, these are the outliers on the bottom, these are the outliers on the top. Let's like find out where the thing should sit. And generally, it's now meant to be, if you are a character with a melee character, and let's say you've got 70th percentile gear, and there's a caster next to you that has 70th percentile gear, if you can maintain, a melee character is generally meant to be stronger and more efficient at that point, of course, but it is easier to take damage and harder to maintain damage uptime as a result. So if you can overcome those two axes, a melee character with equivalent gear should be better than any other character.
On a better player, in a better player's hands.
Yes, and then a better player can obviously seize that even better and take that even further.
That's fascinating. Wow. So we've got like new item bases going into much higher level maps and stuff like that.
Very, very interesting.
What kind of led to that change there? Just making rares matter again?
Making rares matter again is one thing, but also it's, again, adding that very obvious way to keep getting upgrades throughout endgame. Honestly, given how long endgame takes and how much of an integral part of it is, like the amount of base types introduced there, like sure we had steel rings and two-tone boots, but they didn't really make a huge difference. So we're just adding more here. It is more clear, like if you are struggling in yellow maps, you have something you can try and get now to make that easier for yourself. If you're struggling in red maps, you have these obvious things that are like, this will be an upgrade for me. Let me actually try and do it. Obviously just on the defensive axis for now, so you can maybe focus a little bit more of your passives into damage, along with all the new defensive tools. But yes, primarily it is like, a more obvious, here's a way that you can upgrade your character. And of course, for high-end players, it's a new thing to strive for, to push their character further than ever before. I wouldn't say this specific direct goal is like get rid of unique items. That is just a happy side effect of, rare items mattering more once again.
All right. We'll wrap up pretty much there. We've got lots of new leagues coming back this time. Is there any other ones you're looking forward to? I know people have been asking about the Trial of the Ancients as well, whether that sort of stuff's coming back.
Trial of the Ancestors, probably not. Maybe for I don't know. You never know with these things. If you had asked me Sentinel, I would have said no.
Yeah.
And now it is. So you never know with these things, honestly. I'd say there's no current plans, but
okay,
who knows? Things change every week around here.
Guys, this was a massive Q&A. I'm exhausted. It's awesome. Let's go take a break and let people read some patch notes. And there'll be an FAQ news post wrapping up some of the questions from this, but also ones that we didn't get a chance to get around to. So you guys will be able to answer some of them there and read some of those later. But thanks so much, Jonathan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and good luck to everyone reading those patch notes.
Yeah, good luck.
It'll take a while.
Yeah.
We considered doing audiobook versions of them in the past, but I'm not going to be sitting there. I would have to be reading that.
Pick your favorite streamer. Remind them to drink lots of water and enjoy, folks. But that's it for now. I'm Ziggy. Thanks for watching, folks. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing. That was fucking amazing. I do not have a single complaint right now. I can't think of one thing that they talked about they were gonna do that was bad. I can't think of a single thing. Everything sounded phenomenal. Damn. Four days till it goes live, yeah? You know what I want to know? I want to know what melee gems are available, because I have no idea. And I'm hoping you guys know exactly, like, Friday evening, hell yeah. So any suggestions for something that might be really good here? There are projectile melee skills, slam melee skills, strikes. Crossblades field is amazing to play for me. Crossblade. Okay. Leap slam. So that's one of the slam ones, yeah. Okay. Cool too. Magic strike. Okay. Flicker Strike can also be fun. Super fun. Leap Slam is a movement skill. Right. Yeah, that's what I use on the. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's what I'm using on Righteous Fire. Correct. Tectonic Slam. Cyclone is my favorite, but I don't know which one gets buffed by. No, that's what I'm thinking. I was just looking through if there was anything that looked like super cool or sounded super cool. Spy projectile. Rage Vortex is cool. Ice Crash looks crazy with big AoE. Frozen Legion is a hipster bit. Okay. Oh, shit. Does sound kind of cool too. Oh, okay. That's the one where you're turning around when you're like attacking. Blade Fury is a melee challenge attack. Melee spells. I'm guessing that Chaos is probably gonna be king again, even for melee builds, right? Like doing chaos damage. Oh, it's the Rage Vortex. That's the one that you spin around. I think I saw somebody play that at some point. That looked kind of cool too. Wait, why what? Okay, so they're... There's a couple of interesting things. there's so much. Oh, why the chaos damage would be? Oh, I was just thinking like against bosses and shit, so you can like go straight through their instead of having to hit their energy field. I don't know if that would. There'll probably be some kind of boss killer with this, like melee upgrade. That's gonna be insane. Okay, so there's quite a bit of melee skill. That's more than I actually expected. That's kind of crazy though. I am really excited about this. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I am really excited about this league. Like, I am so ready for this. There is a couple of melee builds in Diablo that are really decent, but they're just not great. Like, they're not... the casters are absolute king when it comes to Diablo 2. There's a couple of decent ones, but as I said, I think this might be... Oh shit, that... Oh my god, that's funny as fuck. That got overshined a lot. It's gonna be a $40 expansion. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my god. This is also kind of great. Like this one kills everything, and this one only kills bosses. But Last Epoch, though, it is only just got released, right? There's not a lot to it. You think about the videos we watched on PoE when it got released, when it was only 2 acts or 3 acts. If you think about that, there was not a lot to it either, right? But over time, these type of games, if they do the smart thing, they keep developing everything more and more to the point where all the different mechanics within the game are like superb. And that's what I feel like they've achieved with Path of Exile. They've kept developing, and they took out all the shit that was terrible, and then they just kept the good stuff. Last Epoch needs a bit more time. Right, it needs more time. Exactly. That's why I think too. I think if we go back and look at last year, if they keep developing shit for it and keep the seasons coming with fresh content, they within a couple of years they'll have like so much content for that game that it'll be equally as nice to play, and it'll be good for the people who played it now and then come back, and it'll be good for the new people too because it'll keep them active on both parts. So as long as the base game is great, which it seems like it has been, because a lot of people have praised the game a lot and said it was a great game. There might not be a lot of content, but if the game is great, then they have the building platform they have is great, and it can only be better, right? In the future, they can test some things out and fail some shit, and then make some other shit that works, and then keep the stuff that works. You know what I mean? Last Epoch just had a season 1 release week. Season 1 release a week ago. Only 1/4 of the player base came back to check it out. Right. But I still think that there's just not enough meat on the bone yet to where they're gonna capture people like that. And plus, yeah, I don't know if you're basing that off of the PC numbers, because I'm not entirely sure if on PlayStation and Xbox how many people are playing it there. And right now, later, half of that. Right, but even if if there's not a lot of people playing this season, if they make something crazy, it's gonna lure people back. I promise. It's gonna make people interested again. As long as the base part of the game is great, they have potential to create something in the future that draws everybody back. If people didn't even log on to check it out, the new content, it doesn't seem like the base game is that appealing. Maybe not in terms of, I don't know, man. I still think that it's too early to tell if it's really. Last Epoch is PC only. Oh shit, I thought it was like cross-platform. Well, that's a big mistake on their part that they didn't do that, because that would have targeted a way bigger audience and they would have had more players. They patched up the end game with Uber buses. Right. But think about this, right? It's kind of hard to create something new because everything has been done somewhat. Does that make sense? Once everything's been done once, you can't help but copy a little bit of what everybody else is doing. That makes sense. they didn't have time to port it to console yet, right? But that's definitely making it cross play and making it cross platform would be the smartest way to go for these games, and capture the largest audience, and you'll ensure the survival of the game in the future because you'll have a core audience. It's just one of those things, man. I think that if they do right with the but for a melee build, this is, or it's just a, it's not really a melee build. It is, but it's more so just a single target build, right? Like, you're not really gonna have much success with a group. Hence the war cry that scares everything away. It's, it scares everything except for the bosses. And the bosses one hit those. Then you can turn over the bodies to get extra loot. Basically, you get an extra pool in the loot pool. But as you can see with a group, it doesn't really perform that. Because my attack puts me at 0 defense, so it's kind of fucked. The cost of using a barbarian automatic. I love the itemization in this game. Is like the best that's ever been made. Like, there's just nothing like it. Nothing competes with the items in this game. Everything is like more or less perfect. Right, I do have to register for the PoE 2. That is correct. So 4.6k live, and then we have 647% magic. But you are right, I got to register for that. I love the items in this game. It's crazy. And then I have like full on swap gear in my inventory here. So I can change to, if I want more life and I'm doing leveling, I put these on instead of my magic find. And if I want to find gold instead, I have all these gold find charms and then all the gear for gold find. Kind of awesome. I love this game. I wish a little bit that they would have continued down this road with Diablo 4. That would have been insane. One thing I really like about the PoE 2, I watched the PoE 2 trailer or presentation or whatever it was, and they had this character turn into a bear, like that was the attack, and that's like, I love that. This is one of my favorite builds from when I was a kid and started playing this game, and it still is absolutely one of my favorites today. Nothing is set up because I haven't played it on PC. Right. Right. So this is the wolf version of it, but you have a bear version as well, and I fucking love this. My favorite is the wolf version, but it's so awesome. He has a full suit. Isn't this awesome? This is fucking hella fucking awesome. Just the suit. It just doesn't compare to any of the, you know what I mean, like to any of the caster builds. They're just crazy compared to it. But he's basically unkillable. Takes very, very rare to find a monster that you die to. Five point six K health. Not too bad. Yes, I should definitely be on Friday, for sure. And I appreciate you coming by, Turo, man. That was awesome. I'm looking forward to playing this new league and seeing what we can achieve. See you later, man. You gotta go. I appreciate you coming by, watching the league with the new league with us. That was fucking awesome. The login queue. I'm gonna log in as soon as I can. The second it lets me. And I'll just sit there and wait. Cook some dinner or something. I fucking love this shit. The items are crazy. They are crazy. Right. I am gonna jump off too. I gotta go pick up some groceries. I gotta do a couple of things, so I do have to run. And it was an enjoyable watch. I'm so excited for what's gonna happen in the future here. It's leaning towards something exceptional. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on the new league start. And yeah, I hope all of you have a good evening, good day, whatever it is. And I'll certainly catch you in the next one.